combination is my top conversion combination of the last 30 days. My second best conversion grouping is organic search and direct, meaning that a user came to the website via organic search first, did not convert, and then came back via direct the second time and converted. So basically what analytics does is give credit to the last referral, meaning if you came to the website via referral, a referring website, and converted, then the referring website's going to get the credit for the conversion. But analytics does a good job of showing you how different channels work together. So a channel may drive a lot of traffic like organic search, but that traffic may not convert the first time around for a number of different reasons, whether it could be brand recognition, price shopping, reading content, whatever the case. Analytics is able to measure if that channel actually did contribute at a later point. And in this case, we could see organic search drove traffic that didn't convert, but that traffic came back a second time via direct and did convert. So that's our second best channel grouping. And so the multi-channel funneling report, top conversion paths, to me is a good report to look at. So you can actually see not only how channels work together, but you can see sources and mediums and campaigns and how all those different campaigns and different sources work together to convert. So that's just a good report to look at. There are so many different reports available in analytics. There's so many that we haven't even gotten to yet. So my advice, if you look at the demo report, you can get a feel for each of these reports under each section, whether that be audience, acquisition, behavior, or conversions. Take a look at these reports, see what makes sense to you, see what you can use to improve your website performance. Now, if you have any comments or questions about any of the reports we covered, feel free to comment underneath this video. We're definitely going to have more webinars in the future about specific analytics settings that we didn't get to today and other types of analytics reports and features that we didn't get to today.
The concept of linking is foundational to good rankings and understanding the internet at large. It starts with the premise that good content will be cited by others, recommending it to other people. How we cite and recommend information online is by linking to it. We link to information that we find valuable. Based on that, the search engines assess content by how websites link to one another. So we are going to cover the definition and purpose of links and the different functions that links serve. We'll also look at how links mirror human judgment. We'll look at how search engines evaluate links by mirroring human judgment, and how that affects what's called block level analysis, and how where the location of different links and how they are used will greatly affect their relevance. We're going to look at how visitors from different link sources will behave differently based on where they came from, and also how you can measure the effectiveness of links. And finally, we're going to look at both good and bad linking practices. Now, links serve a number of purposes. From a functional standpoint, they usually are our primary means of navigation online. We click on links, we go to different pages, and from those pages we find links to other pages. Links are also a method of citing other content. When we quote somebody, when we use information that we have found somewhere else, we cite that information to give credit to the original author. Typically, online, we do that with a link, so that if someone wants to see the original source document, it's available to them. That also helps to provide credibility to you, credibility to the author of the original source, as well as assigning importance to the knowledge that came from that original source and the authority of the original source. Links also provide us with a clear structure of how our websites are built, how the pages relate to one another, and how organized the information can be. So let's break down the functional part of a link. This is important if you're going to be developing anchor text and linking to understand the structure. The ahref equals is the start of the link tag. What you are doing is developing the reference of where the document is contained. That's the href. Reference is what it is short for. What comes next within the quotes is the location of the document. Now, this can be a full URL, or you may just be linking to a document that's on the main root level of your server. This is the full location where you can access the document. And so you're putting the name of the document, the extension, so that it will be linked. The next part is what I have in caps. You'll notice off to the left, I have something in all blue text and underlined, which most people will recognize as a link. You see, when it is in between the document location and the closing of the link tag, the text you have in there is what's called anchor text. You see, instead of publishing the document location and the full URL of the document, we can put the link within text and create anchor text. So all someone has to do is click on the link and the document loads for them. This anchor text is vitally important to understanding how we can add additional relevance to linking content. Then we see the closure of the link tag. This is what makes the internet. The internet is millions of pages connected together by links. So when we look at the functional side of links, and we look at this example here, as you can see, the title of this article is not the URL address of the article. It's a title, and the title is the link. That is the anchor text of the link. And so, from a search engine standpoint, search engines look to see what words are being used in the link and how relevant those words are to the document that is being linked. It also looks to see where is the link. Is it in the editorial information, in the article? Is it part of the navigation? Is it in a sidebar or is it an ad? And then also, search engines are looking to see if this is a text link or an image link. How long has that link been there? What type of link is it? Does it go somewhere within your website? Does it go to another website? Or is it a reciprocal link, which I will explain more later? They also look to see the text in the link and the context of the page with the link directs you to. We utilize links a little differently. You see, from a human standpoint, whenever we refer information to another person, when we provide reference material to another person, or even if someone asks us for a recommendation, we provide this information. You see, offline, we mirror the same behavior as we do online when we link. People ask us for information, and we provide it. We just mirror that online by making a link. Offline, we recommend, we refer, we provide information to each other in much the same way. The way I want you to think about it from a human standpoint is that if you asked another person for advice or directions or a referral, are there certain people that you would trust more than others? I'm sure the answer to that is yes. And maybe you have some people in mind that you are thinking about. You see, we run across the same issue with search. The search engines know that there are some websites that are much more trustworthy than others. Just like if you were to ask someone for information, I'm sure you would ask the right person for the information. You would ask the most knowledgeable, trustworthy person you knew who had authority in that subject area. The search engines are trying to do the same thing with the links that we publish on our websites. They're trying to determine who is the most trustworthy and relevant based on the recommendations, referrals, and citations of other websites to other websites. Who are the websites that are trusted, that are authorities? The search engines are trying to do, from a technical algorithmic standpoint, what we do naturally from a human standpoint. Now, from the human side, as I had said before, We need to think of links as information that we receive from other people. Word of mouth advice, information, directions, recommendations. This is where we need to think about links not from the standpoint of building false relevance for a search engine, but being a helpful resource for our readers. How can we help them? How can we provide information? And how can we be a credible source of information? How can we develop our authority within the industry, and so that people who have questions about this content will see our websites as authoritative and credible resources? The best way to develop links, as you'll see, is good content. When people like what they read, when they like what they see, when they are willing to recommend it to others, it's because you have created something of value. And they'll link to you when they feel that you are credible and that you are authoritative with this information. Only then will they share it with other people, because you have earned that right for them to share it with others by providing content that is informative, educational, entertaining, and you've provided that service. Only then will people then want to recommend it to others by linking to it. Now, links serve a number of benefits. When I look at some of the incoming links to my site, one of the things I notice is that if I get a link in certain places, that can drive a lot of brand exposure. I can have thousands of people coming to the site looking to see an article, and that provides a lot of exposure to a lot of people. However, also, getting a link from a certain website, especially if it's a high, relevant, authoritative website, I can see my rankings increase because of that. But then also, a good link is going to drive people that will convert and drive sales or leads, those who become customers. So those are the three aspects of a good link. A good link will drive traffic to your site. A good link will assist your rankings, and a good link will bring in business. If you can get a link to do all three of those at the same time, that's what I call the golden link, because it has all three benefits. Usually, however, you're going to find that different links will provide different types of benefits. One of these three, or maybe two out of these three. One of the things I'm usually very focused on is the link that drives sales or generates leads. That's getting links in the right place that will benefit me tangibly, rather than just getting thousands of people to see it. Why? It benefits me financially if I can get a link in the right place. So from here, let's break down the different types of links. We have navigational links. We see these in our navigation, our primary navigation, maybe the footer of our web pages, where we have links to typical information such as about us or contact us. We also have sidebar links. This might be related information or offers or calls to action. And then also I would break it down into outbound or inbound type of navigation. Outbound are links going to other websites. Inbound links are links that come from other websites and that also I might send to other pages on my own site. Now, I've used the term editorial. An editorial link is a link that is found within the content of the website. And by that, I mean through an article. So if I am writing an article and I link to someone else and cite them or reference them, that is what's called an editorial link. It means that it's part of the content. A great example of this is that the navigation on your web pages is not part of the content. It serves a function as navigation, but it doesn't have anything to do with supporting information, with citing an authority. So information and links that you put within the content and presented content of your site are considered editorial. Now, there's also call to action links where you're bringing someone to a landing page or a registration page or a sale page. Then also we have social links. Now, these can provide a variety of means, but typically a social link will go to a profile. Maybe it's a username that takes you somewhere else, or a comment, or maybe just an image or something that goes to a social site or that you have placed on your own site as well. Either way, it's all contained within that social network. Even though the links are going on and off your site, they tend to be controlled in that social environment. Now, I've used the term reciprocal link. Now, this is something very specific. A reciprocal link is one where you would go to somebody else and you would make a trade, such as, if you link to me, I'll link to you. And maybe you put those links on the home page, or maybe you create a page just for that link. You see, sometimes it just doesn't make sense. And so the search engines will see that you've linked to each other, but if there's no contextual relevance, most likely you won't get any benefit, because you've agreed to link to each other for the primary purpose of boosting rankings. Now, this is not to say that two websites can't link to each other, because there is some relevance. We'll look at some examples of that later on in this module. Also then, we have advertising links. These can be ads, banners, anything on the page that is an advertising link that if you were to click on it, you would go to that advertiser's page. Those links are typically through an ad server, and they take place in an entirely different ecosystem. But they are links, and we need to know what kind of links are advertising and which kind of links are functional to our websites. Now, when I broke down the different types of links, so we have our navigation links, we have links in our sidebar and in our footer. What block level analysis does is that the search engines look at the code of the page. They break down the page because it's very easy to figure out which part of the code has to do with your navigation, which part of the code has to do with your sidebar and your footer, and which part of the code is calling ads from an ad server. What this leaves is the editorial content, your article, and the ability of search engines then to break down your page into these different elements. The reason why they do it is that the links contained in the editorial space are considered to be more relevant in terms of linking to other websites than any of the other types of links on your web page. Search engines don't consider all parts of the page to be equally relevant, which is okay because neither do humans. We look at the navigation as utilization, pure utility, because it's just helping me navigate among the different pages of your website. I'm not expecting to learn anything. I'm using it as a functional means of navigating your site. Now, your sidebar might have some calls to action, it might have links to other pages, but it's not an article. It's what you've developed. And so it might be a little more important than your navigation, but it's not as important as what you may have written within content. Your footer navigation is basically the same. You control that. It's the same on every page. And so what the search engines are looking for are the unique content, the unique article or information that you've published. And if there is a link within that editorial content, that is highly relevant because it has to do with content. It has to do with information that you are sharing. And so the links there are going to be more highly relevant and are going to be more important for the search engines to see. You see, it's the same way with humans. We're not going to look at navigation to learn something. It's functional. The same thing with the footer. And as humans, we're reading the content that you have in your article. And if you link to another source, well, you've provided us with utility. But it's contextual utility because you're citing where you found information, or you're citing an additional source, or you are linking to an example. And it enables me as a human to see that, understand it, and if I need that additional information, I can click on it and go to it. So I'm going to look at the information on the page in that article very differently than I'm going to look at the headings, the navigation, the sidebars, or the footer, because the article is what is informing me. And so the links in the article I'm going to look at very differently and hold them in a higher level of relevance. Now, over time, search engines have had to refine the algorithm about links. You see, in the early days of search engine algorithms, they used to simply count the amount of links. Then if one site had more links than another, that made it more credible. However, once people started to figure that out, people started accumulating links by really any means necessary. And they would just looking for the sheer volume of links, because they knew if they got the most amount of links, it would affect their rankings. And so over the years, the search engines have had to change and adjust and add more relevance to their algorithm, refine it in order to look at different aspects of links in order to properly determine relevance. So over time, it wasn't just having a link. It was then also looking at how many people cite this site as an authority. So looking at the source of the link and the types of pages. Then also looking at the text of the link and matching it with the text of the page. Does it match? Is it contextual? And then looking at the type of link, doing the block level analysis, and then also the context, the relevancy of your site compared to the linking site, compared to the link, and the information that's being shared there. Also, some of the ways that they can look at it are the age of the link. How long has that link been there? Humans do the same thing. When we look to see how long someone has been in business, we're looking at credibility. And then, of course, there are many, many other ongoing refinements that are going into the search engine's evaluations of links. Sometimes the age of the link isn't as relevant, especially when you're looking for something that has happened very recently. An old link could mean that it's old news or that something has changed since then. So search engines are in a constant battle to ensure that people are not gaming the system by falsely creating relevance through linking. The link relevancy and the algorithm is all about trying to determine who is the most relevant and credible within this area. And that is the focus of most search engine algorithm refinements over the past few years, and it will be into the future. Now, this is where I'm going to start bringing in some screenshots from a link management program. As a search engine optimizer, a link management program is probably going to be one of your best friends as you move along in this industry. In this example, this program, LinkDex, that I'm using, will track the incoming links to my website. And it'll also provide a breakdown as to what type of website those links are coming from. So I can see how many links I have from blogs, how many links I have from news sites, how many links from wikis, how many links from directories, forums, social media, public relations sites, articles, or additional resources. Then I can also add my competitors, and I can compare where I stand in terms of the amount of links from each source and where my competitors stand. In this way, I can be sure that we all have a similar link profile. You see, if my linking profile looks vastly different than all my competitors, the search engines are going to see that as well and know that something might be different with me, good or bad, and that's going to raise a red flag. So I want to look at the linking profile because every industry and almost every business's linking profile is going to be a little different. But especially among industries, we see that linking profiles, that is, the amount of links from different sources, is going to be slightly different for every different type of industry or business. So this helps me understand where my links are coming from, which is vitally important because from a business standpoint, one thing that I've tracked consistently in analytics is that people will act differently, and also I can predict which source is going to send me the best customers. You see, just because someone comes from a link doesn't mean they're going to buy or become a customer or really become a lead. Many times, they're going to come, look at your information, and leave. And based on how they come to your site, whether it's through a blog, a directory, a forum, or a news site, has a lot to do with how they view your website. And it's all about the context. You see, this is what I've learned over the years, is that people will behave differently based on how they find the website. What I found is that people from blogs, news sites, and articles, they tend to stay longer, do more, and have a higher chance of conversion, of becoming a customer or a lead. The main reason is because blogs and articles, they have a lot of context. It's an article. Someone has taken the time to write some information out and then link to my site, which means there is a highly contextual reason for someone to click that link. Also, what it means is that there's a lot less competition for that link when my link is in that article. Compare that with social news or any type of social site. You see, when you're on a social site and you're looking at your social stream of information, there's a lot of different people competing for your attention, a lot of different things. And it's not just in one subject area. It's usually from multiple subject areas. And so the context is very low because there's a lot of different types of information and the competition for your attention is very high. Because of that, people from social sites or applications tend to visit more often, but they only tend to view one page and leave immediately because they're looking to see what was interesting and then they move on to the next subject. That's the difference between how people react based on where they come from. And so when I'm measuring links, I'm looking to see which links do I have, what's the source, and then how do those sources behave differently from one another, and why. You see, if I find that I'm getting links from sources that people are staying longer, doing more, and converting at a higher rate, then I'm going to continue to focus on building links in those areas because it directly affects how I monetize my website. So here's a strategy in building links. One of the things I'm looking at is the source of links. Like I said, if I can find a link source that's providing visitors that will stay, look at my content, engage with the content, and eventually convert at a higher rate than other sources of content or visitors, then I'm going to focus on that source. And so I'm going to look at some high authority websites, whether they're industry publications, news sites, education sites. Those are what are considered high authority. Blogs, articles, news sites. That's what I'm looking to do. I want to find the most authoritative website. And sometimes it happens naturally. If people that work at those websites or manage those sites, if they find you and they like your content, they'll link to it. And that way you can get more credibility, more relevancy. Certain people, certain organizations, certain websites have more authority and influence than others. It goes back to the question that I asked you early in this module, that how do you know if someone is more authoritative than somebody else? We also have mid-authority websites, which you can get some links on, and low-authority websites, which are very easy to get links. But here's what I've learned when it comes to link building. One link from one high-quality website can be worth hundreds or thousands of mid to low-quality links. Ultimately, it's about quality, not quantity. One of the things that I will do, utilizing my link software, is look at the context of the link. I want to see how relevant this is. So as I said, if I want to find a high relevant website, what I'm looking for in terms of this is I want to see the influence of the domain as well as the relevance of the domain. Those are two factors that we're going to look at when we're evaluating the quality of a domain. Now, as I'm looking at this report here, what influence means is that it is a high quality website. That within the linking algorithm, these sites have a lot of authority. However, they may not be relevant. So for example, they may have a lot of sites attributing authority to them, but they may not be relevant to my industry, which is why we have the next column of keyword relevance. You see, when I'm evaluating my links, I'm looking for the sources that are both influential and relevant. That means that I've got a link from a site that fits the two standards of high authority. It's authoritative and relevant. Now, it's good to have links from authoritative sites that might not be relevant. It's still authoritative. However, to get the full benefit, I want it to be influential and relevant. But not to say that I'm not looking for links from these other sources. This is just a means of measuring what you have, as well as comparing it to your competitors and other websites. Now, here's some best practices. When I'm optimizing anchor text, I want to maintain contextual relevance. So I want to use text in the text link, and I want to explain to people what they're linking to, what they're going to find when they click on that link. If I use an image as a link, I'm going to use an alt attribute, because if that image doesn't show up, that attribute is necessary to let people know where to go. But also, I do get a little tiny bit of benefit by using that alt attribute within the image link. I also want to look at the relevance of the source page that I'm linking to and make sure contextually the link text, and the content of the page is contextually relevant to the destination page. I also want to be sure that I don't overuse the keywords, that I don't make multiple links to the same destination, that I don't use the same anchor text over and over. I can be downgraded or even penalized by the search engine algorithm if that is found on my pages. So as an example, instead of using click here for a how-to article, I might use the exact phrase of how to fix whatever it is and use that as the link to the page that has the content. That's a simple way of looking at anchor text. Am I directing someone to additional information? If I am, then how can I present it to them so they know exactly what they're going to find and link it appropriately? I look at it as developing the next step for your readers. Where do you want them to go? What do you want them to do? What resources do you have available to them? How can you structure them so that they're easily understood and you're explaining the final destination? Like I said, if you overuse anchor text, you can be downgraded or penalized by the search engines. So what I will tell you to do is, number one, avoid overstuffing anchor content. That means needlessly repeating keywords in the anchor text. Don't do that. Avoid being redundant, meaning don't have 4 or 5 or 6 links with the same anchor text going to the same page. That's a clear way of letting search engines know that you're going overboard. Don't just randomly place links throughout your text just to get the link. Ask yourself, are you really helping the reader find the information they need? And do it once. And then also avoid extremely overly promotional words within the link text, such as best, expert, cheap, number one, those types of things. So a couple examples. We can say for travel advice, click here, but I would say, here is my travel advice and link travel advice. Rewrite it. Be creative. If it were easy, everyone would be doing it. But this is where you can write things in a better way to get the attention of the reader and position it as a resource. Also, utilizing your URL as the link, or as the anchor text as well for the link in order to get that click. As I've got it here, I would not recommend that you use that. I would recommend that you avoid that. Also, the third line, to check out the best website for iPhones and iPhone accessories. Utilizing overly promotional words is one of those ways that you can easily get caught by the search engines. Now, for future considerations when it comes to links, realize that the majority of algorithm changes are link-based evaluation refinements. because people are constantly attempting to fool the search engines and develop a false link profile. You should work to create high-quality links with high-quality content. I wouldn't chase after poor or low-quality links. Now, as I've mentioned before, there are a number of tools available for you to manage and measure your backlinks. Tools such as LinkDex, Moz, Raven, Advanced Link Manager, Majestic SEO, and then also you can use your Google Analytics as well. However, Google Analytics only shows you the visitors that have come from links and what they've done. The basic functions of link management software, and there are many other types other than what are listed here, but the first thing that it does is just provide a catalog of incoming links from other domains to your site and your competitor sites. They offer tools for comparison to see which domains are linking to you, what type of link it is, and on which pages those links are listed. They'll also report newly acquired links in the past 30, 60, 90 days, or something similar to that. The purpose of link management software is to help you assess high-quality domains versus low-quality domains in terms of importance and relevance. Like I said, the first job of a link management tool is to collect all of your backlinks. You add your domain, and the tools will usually spider the domain. They'll go out into search engines and go out into many other formats in order to find and retrace who is linking to you, what page that link is contained, sometimes what text is on that page, and what text is being used in the link. They will catalog all of your incoming links, organize them, format them, and report back to you. Most of these link programs provide additional filters and management tools so that you can get more insights about who is linking to you, how they are linking to you, and the type of site. Personally, I use LinkDex in order to monitor and report on my backlinking. So the first report here that I'm showing out of LinkDex is that I see the total amount of incoming links to my domain. This says I have over 2,000 links, and those 2,000 links are on about 1,000 domains. On average, it looks like I have about 2 links from every domain that is linking to me. So this is one way that you start to look at your links. Number one, the total amount of domains that are linking to you, and then the total amount of links available. This way you can isolate domains that are linking to you consistently, and also find those that may not be the best domains, or that are sending a lot of links that are just not relevant. The next thing I do in analyzing my links is to look at the type of link, meaning the type of site that it's coming from. This report breaks down the amount of links coming from blogs, news sites, directories, forums, social sites, articles, or resources. Now, it doesn't usually get all of those links, but it does get enough to give you an idea of how well you're doing in each channel. One of the things that I do like about this report is it also has a timeline. So I can look and see when new links have been acquired, and maybe when some links have been just disappeared. That's called churn, and it's normal. It's normal because many times a link is published on social media, and it kind of just goes away. Or it's not tracked anymore by your link management software. It can't find it anymore. And so linking is always dynamic. You are always gaining new links and losing old links. There's going to be a normal amount of churn. The next report shows me all of the domains that are linking to me. It also shows me, in the next column, how many of those domains are also linking to at least one competitor. And it will list as many competitors as I have listed in here if they list to multiple competitors. It will let me know the influence of that site or the authority that site is seen because of the amount of websites and credibility that authority has for that domain. It'll also let me know the keyword relevance, how relevant that website is overall contextually to my domain and the content that I have. It will also let me know how many pages on that domain have links to my website. So I can also go through and I can filter this list by the type of site. I can filter by those domains that are using anchor text to see how much anchor text is being used and what type of anchor text. There are many different ways that you can filter through all of the domains that are linking to you in order to get an idea of what's happening on your domain, what are competitors doing, and also the relevance of those links to your site. Now, when I say that I can add competitors, this is another type of report, very similar to the one I showed earlier, where I look at my own standing in the different types of sources of links, such as blogs, directories, forums, and so on. I can also, when I add my competitors, look to see how they are performing in those different areas as well. And so I can compare my link profile to my competitors. Different industries are going to have different backlink profiles. They might be more heavily weighted towards blogs, or they might be more heavily weighted towards forums or social sites. In this way, I can look to see if my competitors are actively link building and how they're going about it. I can see where maybe they are excelling in one area that the rest of the competitors are not. So I can compare different strategies. I can also compare different timelines to see if I am acquiring links at a faster rate than my competitors. This is very important if you are a newer business or a newer website trying to compete. Now, specifically, what I can do is look at an individual domain. In this case, this domain has 3 pages linking to me, and that domain also links to 2 of my competitors. I can look at the specific pages, and what I'm looking at here are snippets. This should be familiar to you because what it's showing is the URL of the page that's linking to my page. It shows me the page title of that page, and then in this report, it lets me know if there are any keywords being used in the link, in the anchor text, as well as the number of links from that page. Now, what this tells me is that this is most likely a directory, something that is listing all the different places where you can buy products, because it's most likely linking to the domain name, seeing that there are no keywords being used in anchor text, and also that there are 16 outbound links from that page. That means that it must be a list of some sort, and they are linking not only to me, but most likely to competitors as well. So I can track my links at the domain level and at the page level. I can look to see which pages might have more influence or relevance to my content. I can also see the link URL, the page title, if any keywords are being used in the anchor text, and also within the context of how many additional links are leaving from that page. If there are a high amount of outgoing links on that page, then a link from that page might not be as valuable since there are so many links. The less links there are coming out from that page, the more it will benefit my site because I'm getting more benefit from less links. Now also, what I'm going to do is compare the link reports to my analytics. I'm going to go to my analytics because linking software does not show traffic. It doesn't show how many people are clicking on the link. It only shows who's linking to you, but it does not show visitor activity. Analytics will show you visitor activity to see which domains are most effective in sending visitors to your site. If you go back to the primary benefits of linking, visitors, branding, and business. Analytics show me visitors and business. It shows me which domains are sending me visitors and which of those visitors are becoming customers. So what I can do is go to Google Analytics, look at all the domains that are referring traffic to my site. I can also click on the domain and see the destination page that they are linking to. I can see how many visitors are coming, either monthly or annually, how often they're coming back, whether they're new users or repeat users, how long they stay, how many pages they view, and how many conversions as a result of those visits. This is a great way to get a 360-degree view of your linking, because not only do you want links that will help you rank better, you also want links that will send business and customers to you as well. Building links can take many forms. Ideally, it is through networks, relationships, and marketing that other websites and users learn about you, like you, and recommend you to others. Unfortunately, there is a lot of bad, outdated, and untrustworthy advice to be found about building links to your website. In this section, I'll present the best practices as accepted by the OMCP standard. The objectives for this module: that you'll be able to develop a link building strategy, that you'll understand the value of different link types. Finally, you'll be able to find inbound link opportunities. The first step in building links is to evaluate what you have. Now, there are many tools available that you can utilize to do this for you. There are automated tools that you can get that will catalog all of the incoming links to your website. Some of them are LinkDex, Moz, Raven, or Advanced Link Manager. There are many that can do that. You may also want to utilize your analytics as well in order to find websites that link to you. The first step is evaluating where you are right now. Your incoming links have a significant impact on your rankings, and you can do a lot of on-page optimization and see some results. However, a lot of Google's algorithm takes into account links from other high-quality websites. Now, when you evaluate what you have, in this example, I'm showing you a screenshot from LinkDex. LinkDex catalogs the incoming links to my website, and it groups them into different areas. The first way it groups them is by high value or high influence domains. Those are websites that link to me that have a lot of influence, not necessarily in my industry, but high influence based on the amount of people that link to them as an authority on many different subjects. The next way that it groups that is based on relevance. Now, this is when it looks at the match of my content versus the content of the other website. In the first example, we can see the National Library of Medicine. It is a high influence website because it is a government website with a lot of information that is cited frequently. Because of the amount of other websites linking to that site, it has a high amount of influence. Now, based on the website that I am measuring, there is a lot of keyword relevance, meaning that that National Library of Medicine site with the government has a lot of content that's very similar to my site. A lot of the same keywords are being used. So, not only is this website of high influence, it also has a lot of relevance. And that's key when evaluating my backlinks. I want to look at which websites are also referring traffic. So while I may have a link from the National Library of Medicine, I want to look at my analytics and look to see, is it also providing visitors? Are visitors following that link to my site? And I also want to look at the quality of traffic that it produces. Do these visitors stay longer than average? Do they convert more than average? I want to look at the quality of traffic based on the source. Next, I want to look at the incoming links from those other websites. Number one, I want to make sure that the incoming link from the other site is both accurate and relevant, meaning the text that is used in the link, is it accurate to the content that will appear on the page when the visitor clicks that link? Is the content relevant? This is especially relevant if I have updated my website, changed the content, or moved things around. I want to be sure that that incoming link sends visitors to the appropriate page and the appropriate information. I also want to ensure that that link is worded correctly, that it uses the right words, that is sending visitors and setting expectations of the content that they will see. I may need to contact the website manager or owner and maybe ask for a better link text or a more accurate page destination. Now, this requires some interaction with the owner or manager of another website, and you always want to be respectful of their time and not demanding that they make any changes. In some cases, the organization may be so big, you may never find the right person in order to optimize the text or the destination of that link. You always want to look for accuracy in cases where your company or website name is utilized in the link, but also if there is any contact information, such as address, phone number, a description of your business, and any content. Make sure it's accurate and it all points to the right place. Another way to look for links is to simply go to a search engine and start doing searches. Search for your company, your business, your company name, and look for websites that may mention you but do not have a live link to your website. Many times your company will be mentioned or cited, but there will not be a live link. You can only find these through doing searches and seeing which websites mention you without linking to you. Now, this could be an opportunity to get an easy link, especially if you can find some contact information and finding the right person that could add a link to your company information. Again, you'll need to be polite, ask for their help, and it will help it if you can develop the link along with the link text and send that over, giving them just a quick and easy edit to be able to add the information. So make it as easy as possible. As an example, I've provided a sample request format. Again, you want to be polite, you want to be inviting, and respectful of their time and their management. Sometimes, like I said, you may find the right person that can help you. However, the larger the company, the more difficult it will be to make this happen. This just requires your patience and, again, being polite and not expecting the company to do what you are asking. Many times, this is just a formality, and sometimes companies will act on it. So be sure to approach this with the right expectations. The next thing I want to look at are business listings. These are the easy ways to establish links and ensure that links are where they should be, and also opportunities. Look for business directories, especially if your company has a local presence. You can utilize Chamber of Commerce lists, association lists, or local listings. If they are on websites, see if they offer links that can go to your website rather than just the list of businesses that are in the area. Even on a larger level, you can look for associations, directories, or listings where you can add your business or double check if your business is there, and always ensure that your business name, address, phone number, and URL are correct, complete, and consistent with other listings. The next level will require some active marketing, and that's where you search for opportunities. You can go out and look for other resource lists within your industry or directories of businesses within your industry, and you can get a link many times through membership or submitting your business as a resource. However, you may want to step up your marketing. You can do that by interviewing your clients, seeing if they might be willing to provide a testimonial and a link to your website. You may also want to go out and find other communities online, maybe some social communities that are relevant to your industry. Get involved with those communities, fill out a profile, and get involved by contributing information. By sharing information, you'll find that people like getting information, and they'll respond by linking to your site. Another option is to utilize the tool that you had for indexing your links from the first step. You can also add your competitors, and you can look at their backlinks. You can look and see which websites and which domains are linking to your competitors, but you always need to go and see why. What are those other sites linking to, and what is the nature of that link? Sometimes it may exclude you from being able to approach competitors' backlinks and ask them for links. However, if they're being linked to by companies that are simply stating, here are vendors in this space, and they are linking your competitors, and you're not there, then it might make a lot of sense for you to approach and ask if you can be listed as well. However, be sure that the links to your competitors are not from a consumer or customer relationship. In that case, it might be out of line for you to ask for a link. Make sure if you approach anyone who's linking to a competitor and asking for a link to your site, make sure the context is right and that it makes sense for them. And that's the ultimate judge of value. Does it benefit somebody else to link to your site? We all know that it will benefit you, but when you present your link request, you need to offer value and a benefit for others to link to you. So be sure that you present it in a way that is beneficial and good for those people that will be adding the link. They're the ones that have to take the work to do it, and they're also the ones that are adding a recommendation for you and your business. So as always, you need to be considerate and patient. Now, the best way to build links is by creating something that people like and sharing it. You see, the best way to build links is by creating value through content or information or entertainment. You see, when people like things, they link to it. If they find a study or a white paper or research that you performed, they link to it. If you post an infographic that explains something and it's attractive, people link to it. You see, that's what's most amazing about linking. I find that when we put most of our effort into creating content that people like, that's what builds the most valuable and the most relevant links. And so what type of content? Well, you can create infographics, videos, top 10 lists, or articles. Articles with advice or analysis of market data, or even research. That type of content, people love it. And so when you publish it out, you utilize social media to extend the reach and the visibility of that type of content. And when someone likes it, they'll link to it and recommend it to others. Now, people also like, depending upon your industry or your business, they also like some personality, maybe some humor. People always like expert information. They like the cute. This is why pictures of cats tend to be liked and linked to more than almost anything else. And also the unexpected. If you can inject any of that into your content, that just makes it more valuable, more personable, and again, more shareable by other people. And every time someone shares it, it builds a link to your site. You see, the best linking is when people like something. When you create something that people like and share, you might be surprised at the many opportunities there are to get links based on your content. I've seen many blogs based on cooking, fashion, arts, sports, music, and when people specialize within a specific topic, they always find an audience. And so anything they publish builds links. Even on certain social media sites, such as Pinterest, people upload pictures on articles and infographics, especially about landscaping, flowers, food, cars, you name it. There is a special interest for anything. And you can develop links from those social sites to your site, and it can generate traffic. Even with a blog, developing articles that talk about upcoming events, new music, sports, whatever it is. When you create content that people like, it takes the longest amount of time to build content for building links. When you develop your own content, that's the biggest investment you'll make in time and research and writing and presentation. However, the result is that when you develop that content, you will receive the best and highest quality links, and the most valuable links are going to be to that content. As I mentioned before, one high quality link can be worth more than hundreds or thousands of low quality links. So my best advice is to create content that people like, that they link to, and that will be high value links that you'll generate to your site.
Google Tag Manager. Thanks for joining, and let's get started with this Simply Learn webinar. So let's start out with why GTM. So let's just say you're Sam and you have your own e-commerce website and you want to understand how people are interacting with your website. Well, Sam, today's world of websites contain a lot of interactivity, everything from videos to PDF downloads to commenting to form submissions to all sorts of chat functionality, interactivity going on throughout the website. So there's just a lot that you need to track outside of just page views. And so really what GTM does is they help you track all these things I just mentioned. Everything from somebody clicking on the play button of a PDF to somebody clicking on the submit button of a form to somebody entering in something on a chat function. So that's what GTM is. So why GTM? Because it helps us track all that interactivity. So all GTM is really allows you to really place a piece of Java code, which is just script, and this script that's added to a web page to collect information. So that's really what a tag is. It's just some script that gets put on a web page in order for you to collect information, like page views, clicks, etc. And they send it to third-party tools. Okay, so that's what GTM does. It basically allows you to take all these tags that collect information and you can use them in GTM. So if you want to, for example, collect how many people, enter a chat functionality and start chatting. Well, you're going to take that script and you're going to put it in GTM, and GTM will then allow you to start tracking that information. So that's really what GTM is. It just allows you to put tags into a container. Or think of it as a toy box. You have all these toys and you want to track, well, you can put all those toys or tags in a toy box or container. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But before we get into GTM, let's just say you're communicating with your developer and there's a new user request on your webpage and you want to update the tag. Well, your developer, considering it's probably a small update to your website, is probably gonna not hesitate and is going to go ahead and turn around and do it normally. And so normally what happens is the developer is going to go to the website and update the tag. Well, what if you have a few things that you want to track? All those things I mentioned before, from downloads to clicks to, somebody checking out to watching a video. Well, your webmaster, your web developer is going to go, well, hold on a second. Now, all these requests are going to take time. I need to put them into the work queue, so to speak. Well, what happens is when they go into a work queue, usually it's going to take some time. And in some cases, you as a marketer need to launch a campaign. And you want to get that tracking added to the website in time for the campaign launch. So you want to go ahead and quickly turn around the tracking for that particular campaign. Let's just say you're launching a campaign and you're sending people to a landing page that has a form submission. And you want to be able to track how many people click on the submit button of that form submission. Well, if you need to turn that around, your developer's like, well, I need to put that in a work queue. The timing isn't going to always work out between you and your developer, is my point. And so that's where GTM comes in. Because there is a solution to update your tags faster. And that's Google Tag Manager. So when we say GTM, that's what GTM stands for, Google Tag Manager. It's a place for you to add tags quickly and easily. So tags, remember, are just snippets of code that allow you to track things on your website interactively. And basically, when you have GTM, you can bypass the webmaster and do it quickly and easily. So that's what GTM is all about. So why GTM? Because we just identified two benefits. One, you could track all the interactivity on your website. And two, you can bypass your web developer or webmaster. And so that's the benefit of GTM. So the benefit, you get those tags updated very quickly via Google Tag Manager. Okay, so that's what Tag Manager is. So what we're going to talk about today is specifically what Tag Manager is and what it does. We're going to list some of the benefits of Tag Manager. We're going to show you how it works, and then we're going to show you how to get started with Tag Manager. Tag Manager, if you're not familiar with working with webmasters and dealing with JavaScript and tags and all this jargon is just new to you today, okay, well, don't fret, sit back. We're going to take it slow. This is an introduction into Google Tag Manager. Again, let's start out with what is Tag Manager. So we've already introduced it to some degree because we already introduced it as a tool where you can put all your tags into a toolbox, toy box, or container, so to speak, right? And we already mentioned that, hey, you can bypass your webmaster. So you're probably thinking, well, if you're not familiar with Tag Manager, how can I bypass my webmaster? Well, first of all, it's a free tool and it's a Google tool, hence the name Google Tag Manager. And it helps you really, that's the main point, is deploy and track tags on your website, bypassing your webmaster. So that's Tag Manager. And so examples of tags that can be deployed via Google Tag Manager are numerous. These are just some examples like Google Analytics, Facebook's pixel tracking, or Google Ads. There's no limit into the number of tags you can track in Tag Manager. There is no limit. You can add any number of tracking tags in Tag Manager. Okay, so some of the benefits, well, again, we just listed two. You can put any tag into Tag Manager and track that onto your website. And we know you can bypass your web developer or webmaster. And what it also does is it also allows you to test and deploy your JavaScript codes quicker. So remember, these JavaScript codes or snippets of codes are just there to track certain things on your website, whether that be a page view or somebody clicking on a play button or tracking somebody who converts or even just goes to your website. So the biggest benefit is you can take that snippet of code, let's just say Facebook. Let's just say you're doing Facebook marketing and you want to put that Facebook pixel on your website so that you could track people who come from Facebook and convert. Well, you don't need to put that Facebook pixel on your website. You can go right to Tag Manager and you can put that snippet of code right in Tag Manager really quickly. And the other benefit here is all tags are managed in one place. And that to me is really a good benefit, because when you start adding tags on your website and you have some tags in Tag Manager, it just gets very confusing. So ideally, all the tracking code you have on your website needs to be in Tag Manager. Think about that. All the tracking. So if you're doing Bing or you're doing Facebook or you're doing Twitter or you're doing LinkedIn and you're doing Google, you're doing all this type of marketing on all these different platforms, you're going to have tracking code for all these different platforms. And instead of putting all that code on your website, return going to slow down the load time of your web page and website. You want to put them all in Tag Manager so they can be organized and you know exactly what you're trying to track. And the other great benefit of Tag Manager is there's a versioning control. So let's just say you have added tags to your website via GTM for the last 6 months. Well, and let's just say you add another tag yesterday. If you added that tag yesterday and something doesn't work, well, you can just roll back to a previous version. It's that simple. So you have versioning, and that's a good thing. When you have versioning, you can control what gets published, and if something doesn't work after it gets published, then you can roll back to a previous version. So it's a peace of mind, so to speak. Just because you've added code to your site, there's no guarantee it's going to work. And so you can always control what version you're dealing with in Tag Manager. And And we'll talk a little bit more about that. So the biggest benefit here to me with Tag Manager is you have event tracking. And so we talked about some of the things you could track on your website, from videos, from play buttons to somebody clicking on the stop on the video or pausing it, all the way to somebody, again, chatting, or let's just say somebody clicking on that purchase button on your website. Okay, and you want to track all these different things, these different interactivities and buttons. Well, event tracking is what you're going to use to track all those buttons. And to me, this is the biggest benefit of Tag Manager. And I'll show you some examples as we go along. And if we didn't mention it already, I'll mention it again. It is free. Tag Manager is free. There's no limit. So once you have Tag Manager going, you can add as many tracking codes as you want. There's no limit on the number of tracking codes you can add to Tag Manager. Okay, so it's free and you can use it to its fullest advantage. Okay, so it's also high security, meaning that it has different levels of permissions. Okay, so you can have somebody just go in and look at the different tags and tracking codes you have in GTM, or you can ask somebody who is very familiar with Tag Manager and can go in and add the tracking code to Tag Manager and then publish that tracking code when it gets added. So those are all the benefits. Let's talk about how it works now. Specifically, how does Tag Manager work? Because you're like, Rob, okay, again, a lot of jargon. You know, you got tags and JavaScript and versioning and publishing and all this other stuff. Well, I know I'm throwing a lot at you at once, but just bear with me here. Okay, so let's start talking about how it actually works. So you have a website, okay? Whatever that domain is, you have a website, and there's chances are on your website, you have some form of interactivity, whether that be a video, whether that be a blog, whether it be a form submission. You have a website with some interactivity. And let's just say you're even thinking about getting ready to launch some type of campaign on maybe Google or Facebook, and you want to drive traffic to your website. Fair enough. You're joining the millions of other websites that are out there that have interactivity that also drive traffic to the website. So in comes Google Tag Manager. And so Tag Manager is important because, again, we know we want to track people coming from that Facebook campaign or that Google campaign and interacting with our site. So if you are running Facebook and you are running Google Analytics, well, guess what? You want to put that tracking code in Tag Manager. So Google Analytics, being a Google product, works very nicely with Tag Manager. Facebook has its own tracking code, but you still want to be able to track people who come from the Facebook campaign to your website. So you're going to get that tracking code from Facebook and put it in Tag Manager. That's generally how it works. So here, information from your website is shared with another data source through Tag Manager. So think about that. If I add Facebook tracking code to Tag Manager, or let's just say I add Google Analytics tracking code to Tag Manager is the one that's pushing out and doing all the heavy lifting. They're the ones that are controlling what code gets fired and what code doesn't. So if you're putting the code in Tag Manager is controlling the code. Think about it that way. And let's show you an example of what that looks like. So here I am, I'm in Tag Manager. I just went to tagmanager.google.com, and here I could see a list of tags. So in our conversation, we're talking about tracking Facebook and we're talking about tracking Google Analytics. Well, Google Analytics is easy because it's a Google product. So here, if I look at all the different tracking code I have on my website through Tag Manager, let's just take a look at Google Analytics. So if you're going to use Tag Manager, you might as well put the Google Analytics code in here. So here I can see I have Google Analytics as a tag in Tag Manager. Now, for Facebook, if I'm running a Facebook campaign, well, I can take that pixel tracking and put it in GTM as well. And here I can see Facebook pixel. That code is added to GTM. I just basically took what Facebook gave me and put it into Google Tag Manager. So you can see I can add Facebook and Google Analytics. And again, I can't stress it enough, any tracking code from any platform I can add to Google Tag Manager in order to track the behavior from those sources. So let's take a little bit deeper dive into how Tag Manager works. So I just showed you an example of how you could take Facebook and Google Analytics code and put it into Tag Manager. But if you're not familiar with Tag Manager, then how do I do that? Well, let's talk about the structure and how Tag Manager works. So when you have a Tag Manager account, you have a container. Remember, I mentioned toy box earlier. You have a bunch of toys. If they're code and you're tracking different bits of code from different platforms like Facebook, think of those as toys, and you have a toy box. Okay, well, that's what this code is, and that's what a container is. The code is the code, and that's going to go into the toy box or container. And so the way Tag Manager works is you have tags, triggers, and variables. So if I take my Facebook tracking code and put it into a container, I need to set up a tag and a trigger. Okay, so let's take a look at what that is. So first, if I go back to Tag Manager, I'm going to have an account, and if I have an account, I'm going to have a container. So here I'm just going to click on an account with a container. And a container is nothing more than what website you're adding the tracking code to. Okay, that's all the container is. We're just letting Tag Manager know this is the website we're adding all this code to. So you have tags, triggers, and variables. That's the structure of Tag Manager. So tags are just what it says, tags. What are we trying to quote unquote tag? Well, if it's Google Analytics, that's easy. Here I can see I have Google Analytics added. So if I click on Google Analytics, here's my tag. And if I take a little bit of a deeper dive there, since Google Analytics is a Google product, it integrates already with Tag Managers. It's pretty easy. I can just choose Google Analytics. Then I'm going to check page view, and that's my tag. Now, every tag needs a trigger. Okay, so I need to tell Tag Manager how or when to fire the Google Analytics tracking code. So in this case, I'm going to tell Tag Manager to fire on all pages. So if I get somebody, a visitor to my website, Analytics is firing on all pages. So whatever page that visitor lands on, Google Analytics is going to fire. So that's really what it comes down to, is I have a tag and I need to tell Tag Manager when to trigger that tag. That's really what the structure of Tag Manager is. It's tags, triggers, and variables. And variables we're going to talk about here in a couple minutes. But you have a piece of code. You're going to go ahead and put that into Tag Manager. You're going to tag it, and then you're going to fire that trigger. So let's take a look at another example here. If I go back here, you can see Facebook. Well, here's my Facebook pixel. Okay, that's my tag. So when is it going to fire? Well, it's going to fire on a specific domain or subdomain. That's basically what we're doing. We're trying to tell GTM when to fire that particular tag. So those are the three main components: a tag, okay, which is going to contain the JavaScript code that you get from, say, Facebook, the trigger. So you're going to go into Tag Manager and tell Tag Manager when to fire that code. That's the trigger. And then you have variables. And so variables are basically just additional information that Tag Manager may need for your tag and trigger to work. So that's what a variable is. It's there to get the tag and trigger to fire. So variables are divided into built-in and user-defined variables. So common use variables include, say, page path or page URL or host name or click class. Again, they're there, and these examples I just gave you are there to get your tag and trigger to work. Think about it that way. That's a component. And if I go into Tag Manager here, and here on the left side, I can see variables. So remember, I have built-in and user-defined. So built-in means that Tag Manager already built these for me. So in case I need to get my trigger to work with my tag, I can use a variable. So those are built in, and then I have user defined. So these are what I define. These are what I created. And again, the variables are there to get the tag and trigger to work. Okay, so that's the job of the variable. The job of the tag is to host that JavaScript code. Okay, in the case of Facebook or Analytics, that's where we're putting our code. So here, if I click on AdWords Remarketing, again, it's a Google product, so I don't really need to even deal with code. I'm just going to select Google AdWords Remarketing. Okay, so you can see GTM integrates nicely with some of the other Google products. But let's just say you have a Facebook pixel tracking code. You're going to choose custom and you're going to put the code here. So that's part of the tag. And then the trigger again is there to get the tag to fire. So you're telling GTM when to fire the tag. And the variable is there to help you make sure that that trigger and that tag work together. So that's how all three kind of work together. You need the tag to put the code. You need the trigger to tell GTM when to fire the tag and code. And the variables there to help you define when that tag and trigger should work or how it should work. So again, a review, they're just small codes of JavaScript or tracking pixels on your website. And so tags are allowed to manage events like scroll tracking, remarketing, clicks, downloads, files, play buttons, you name it. Even clicks on external links. For example, let's just say you have a click or a Facebook icon on your site, and when somebody clicks on it, they go to Facebook. You want to maybe track that. You're going to create a tag. Okay? The trigger is there because you need to tell GTM when to fire that tag. So it's a certain condition, whether it's, fire the tag if the URL equals facebook.com or some other condition. So the tag cannot be created until the creation of the corresponding trigger. So tags and triggers go together. You can't just create a tag and not have a trigger. Otherwise, your tag will never fire. And then the variable is there again. It stores the information when defining a trigger or transferring data to tag. So a variable has a variety of data. Okay, so you pick and choose the variable you want to use with that trigger. Okay, so you're making sure that by defining a variable, you're making sure that you're telling GTM how that trigger should be fired. So let's take a look at another example here of how all three play together. If I'm in this account, I'm in this container. If I look down here, I could see Google Optimize. That's another Google product. So what I'm doing here is I just chose Google Optimize as my tag. It's already integrated. So what does that mean? I don't even need to deal with any code. I'm just going to select Optimize. Well, we have the tag Google Optimize, but we need to tell GTM how to fire that. And so here we're going to tell GTM to fire it on all pages. So that's basically a very simple example because we're firing it on all pages. So if I want to look at something specific again, Facebook, here's my tag, here's my code. What's my trigger? Well, my trigger is it's going to fire on specific pages. How do I know that? Well, if I look at the trigger, here I could see the trigger is a page view, but I'm telling it to fire on this particular hostname. So the tag and trigger go hand in hand. So how to get started with Tag Manager. So first things first, you have to create that account. So you're going to go to tagmanager.google.com, or you can do a search for Google Tag Manager, and you're going to create your account. And then when you create your account, what's going to happen is you're going to set up a container. And when you set up a container, you have choices. So you could set it up for your website, for an app on iOS, or maybe Android, or you can even set it up for AMP, an accelerated mobile page. So most people by default are probably going to set up Tag Manager for their website. And so when you do that, when you actually select website, what's going to happen is you're going to get some Google Tag Manager code in return. And so the whole idea here is you're going to do a swap. What you're doing is basically you're saying, okay, Google, I'm going to take this Google Tag Manager code and I'm going to put it on my website. I'm going to put it on every page of my website. So notice Tag Manager has two scripts. One goes in the head as high as possible. The other goes into the body tag as high as possible. And so what you're doing is you're making a deal. You're putting this Tag Manager code on your website, and in return, every code you deal with, whether that be Facebook or analytics or optimize or remarketing or whatever it is going to go in GTM. Okay, it's going to go into the container you created. So you need the Tag Manager code on your website in order for Tag Manager to work. Okay, so when you add this code to your website, then you're free to start adding all sorts of tags to your container. But if you don't have this tracking code on your website, then none of the tags you add to your container are going to work. So that's the idea behind the container. And then one thing I wanted to mention on the account is it's a Google account. So when you create your account, then make sure it's the same account you use with, say, Google Analytics or some other Google product. That's a good best practice, is always use the same email address when you set up your account so that it integrates nicely across all the different platforms. Meaning you can go from, say, Google Analytics right to Google Tag Manager in one browser without having to log out or log in. Okay, so when you create the account, you're going to create your container. If you choose web, then you're going to be asked to place code on your website. And when you place that code on your website, then you are free to start using Tag Manager. And that means you're free to start adding tags. Okay, so if you want to know more information about installing Google Tag Manager, then what I would recommend is visit the Quick Start Guide website of GTM. So again, if you're curious as to where that code is located in Google Tag Manager, well, when you create an account and you create a container, that container is going to have a specific ID. So if I click on that specific ID, here's where I can get my code. Okay, so again, when I'm logged in to Tag Manager, I'm going to click on Workspace, but in the top navigation, I'm going to see my unique GTM ID. If I click on that, that's where my code is going to be located. And so again, your code needs to go in the header, and there's another script that needs to go in the body. And if you're not sure how to add the code to your website, well, you can always click on the Quick Start Guide here. Okay, and that'll take you to a Quick Start Guide page, a reference page related to Google Tag Manager. So let's talk about creating a tag. So once you get Tag Manager installed, I'm sure you're excited to get going and create that first tag. So let's talk about how to create a tag in Tag Manager. So when you're in Tag Manager, all you need to do is basically you're looking at all your tags. If you click on tag in the left side navigation, you'll see all your tags and there's a new button there. So you just click new. And so basically what you're going to do is you're going to create your first tag. And so what I would recommend, once you get Tag Manager installed on your website, I would recommend setting the first tag up as Google Analytics. So that will get you going with tracking page views on your website when somebody visits your website. Okay, so ideally that's what you want to do. You want to get Google Analytics as your first tag in Tag Manager. So what I'm going to do is, because Analytics is a Google product, it's already integrated nicely with Tag Manager. So I'm just going to click on Google Analytics. It's going to be a page view. That's what I'm tracking. And now I have to set up a variable. And so what it's going to do, it's going to ask me to select a variable. And so what you're going to do is you're going to select new variable. And what you're going to do is you're actually going to go and add your tracking ID here. That's going to be your variable. So where do I get my tracking ID in Analytics? Well, if I'm in Analytics, I'm going to go to admin. And then under property settings, I'm going to see my tracking ID. And all you need to do then is go to Tag Manager and paste copy. First, you got to copy over that tracking ID. Then you're going to go to Tag Manager and paste it. And then that's going to create a variable for you. And then when you create that variable, you're going to see it in the drop down here. So I've already created it. And basically, that's your tag with a variable. Then what are you going to do? You're going to set up a trigger. So see, I have some triggers already set up. You're going to see a default trigger already set up for you, and that's going to be all pages. So ideally what you want to do is you want to select all pages in order for Analytics to fire on all pages. So that's what we're doing. We're setting up a trigger. We're basically telling Tag Manager, hey, if I get a visitor to any page on my website, then I want you to fire Google Analytics. So that's basically, in summary, how to set up your first tag. And my recommendation is your first tag should be Google Analytics. And when you set up analytics, you're going to have to set up a variable for the tracking ID. And so you get the tracking ID again from admin, property settings, copy and paste that tracking ID over, save it, you have your variable. That variable is going to be included in with the tag. Then your trigger is going to be all pages. And there you go. You have your first tag. You have your first variable, you have your first trigger. So that's basically what you want to do. And once you've added that tag, once you've added that trigger, then the only thing you need to do now is basically publish the tag. And so anytime you save a tag, you're going to go ahead and submit it so that way it gets published. So again, what you're going to do is let's take a step back here. You're going to choose new tag. You're going to choose analytics from the drop down menu. You're going to choose page view. Then basically you're going to add your tracking ID so you can set up the variable. And then basically that's what you need to do. Okay, you're going to add that tracking ID and then voila, that's your tag with a variable. And then once you've done that, then you're going to click submit. So when you click submit, you're basically saying, hey, I want this tag to go live now, this tag and trigger. And once you've done that, then analytics is ready to go. And anytime somebody goes to your website on any page, Tag Manager is going to fire Google Analytics. So the great thing here is you have something called Google Tag Assistant, and that's an extension that works with Chrome. And so when you've actually added Tag Manager to your site, or you have analytics running in Tag Manager, you can confirm if those tags are firing properly. So let's take a look at how Google Tag Assistant works. Okay, so if you just do a search for Google Tag Assistant, you're going to see here that it's basically just an extension that works in Chrome, and unfortunately it only works in Chrome browser. It doesn't work in any other browser. So go ahead and install that extension into Chrome. And when you do that, you're going to see this nice icon here in your browser. And now, if you go to any website and I click on Google Tag Assistant and I click on Enable, okay, so basically I'm loading Google Tag Assistant. And now once I refresh the page, I can see that this particular site has Google Tag Manager installed. And not only does it have Tag Manager installed, I can see that it's also has Google Analytics running. I have also Google Optimize running, and I have Google Ads Remarketing Tag running in Tag Manager. So that's what Tag Assistant does. It allows you to see if one, Tag Manager is on the site, and if it is, great, what other tags are firing on this particular site. So Tag Assistant's telling me I have these particular tags firing on that site, and they're firing within Tag Manager. So Tag Assistant is a great way to confirm if one, Tag Manager is on the site, and two, what other tags are firing on the site. Now, another way you could confirm if Tag Manager is firing on the site is you can go into preview mode. So even before you submit and publish your tag and trigger, you can click on the preview mode. So if I click preview in Tag Manager, so basically that's going to put me in preview mode. And so what does that mean? Well, that means that now I'm free to go to my website and see if those tags are firing. And so let's take a look at what that looks like. So if I go to the website and just click refresh, then what's going to happen is Tag Manager is going to load in preview mode, just as you see here. Okay, so that's going to take a couple seconds to load up. And now what can I see in preview mode? I could see that I have GTM firing, but I also have some other tags firing on this page. Remarketing, I have Google Analytics, I have Google Optimize. I have some other tags firing as well. And so the preview mode shows me what tags are firing on any given page. And I can also see what tags did not fire. Okay, so here I have a number of tags already in GTM, but they didn't fire on this particular page. So let's just say I clicked on the Donate Now button. I'm still in preview mode, so I'm going to be able to see what tags fired. Now I could see I have a couple of tags that have fired on this particular page. And then I could see what tags did not fire on this page. Okay. So that's the preview mode. You can use the preview mode before you even submit a tag and trigger to see if it fires. And that's the great benefit of Tag Manager. So if you're not sure if something's going to fire or not, then you can always go into preview mode. And if you are sure it's going to fire, then you can go ahead and submit it. So you can leave preview mode and just go ahead and submit that particular tag and trigger. So here I'm going to leave preview mode. And now once I'm done and I'm sure the tag is going to fire, and go ahead and submit all my changes that I've worked on in terms of setting up tags and triggers. So that's really GTM in a nutshell. So I have my tags, okay? My tags are just snippets of code that I'm going to put in, whether that be Facebook or event tracking or any other Google product like Optimize or PageView. Then I have my triggers. My triggers are there to tell GTM when to fire that tag. And the variables are there to help those tags and triggers work together. So remember that particular variable we set up for Google Analytics. Okay, so here it is right here, because we want to tell GTM what property to specifically fire in Google Analytics. So that's why we set up that variable. But there are all sorts of variables. Google Tag Manager has built in, or variables already created for you, or you can specifically define a variable. So variables are there to help the tags and triggers work together. So when you set up a tag, you set up a trigger, you use a variable, you can always go into preview mode, preview it by going to the website, seeing if it fires. If it fires, then voila, you can go ahead and click submit, and that will publish the tag and trigger, and you're good to go. That's pretty much how Tag Manager works. And again, I can't stress that there's an unlimited number of tags you can add to Tag Manager. There's no limit. So you got anything from Google to non-Google to event tracking, okay? To Facebook, to anything that you want to track, you want to be able to put into Tag Manager. And again, there's versioning. That's one of the great benefits of Tag Manager. So if I want to go back to an older version, I can simply do that. So here you can see I'm on version 32. That's how Tag Manager works. And I can't stress that, Tag Manager is there to help you track interactivity on the site. Because if you have a site that's interactive, that has a video, that has a download button, let's just say, you have all sorts of newsletter signups, Facebook, YouTube buttons on your website, just like this website does, and you want to be able to track how many people click on that particular button, well, you're going to need Tag Manager. And when you have Tag Manager, you're going to be able to track all of these button clicks and interactivity on your website.
Choose from over 300 in-demand skills and get access to 1,000 plus hours of video content for free. Visit SkillUp by Simply Learn. Click on the link in the description to know more.
We're going to talk about how to rank #1 on Google. So let's get started, and let's go with the scenario that you have a friend named Sam, and he has a website where he sells shoes. But Sam doesn't understand why his website's not ranking #1 on Google. And so typically, to rank #1 on Google, there are some factors involved. And those are factors that are going to help Sam get his website rank #1 on Google so he can sell his shoes, get traffic, and convert that traffic to conversions. So there are factors involved. And so what are those factors? Well, it always starts with keyword research. So in order to rank for a website where you sell shoes or you sell products, other products like clothing or food, or you're an automobile website, you're a mechanic, it doesn't matter whether you're selling to customers or selling to other businesses. You have to start with the keyword research. And so we're going to go into really explicit detail on how to conduct a proper keyword research. And then the second factor involved is high quality content. So in order to rank high on Google search, you need to have high quality content. So we're going to go over what's involved with creating high quality content. Then we're going to take that content, we're going to optimize it using on-page elements. and website level factors. So we're going to take into account what's involved with your website and what's involved with specific pages on your website in order to rank number one on Google. Then we're going to get into the off-site engagement. So when it comes to ranking on Google, you need to optimize your website and you need to do some elements off your website. You need to be engaging off your website, meaning on other websites. And so we're going to talk about what's involved with off-site engagement. So SEO being a major channel for most companies and websites where the opportunity to drive a lot of traffic is there. But you have to earn that reward. The reward is a lot of traffic, but you have to earn the reward, and there's a lot of work involved. And so ideally what we want to do is follow what we call the 80-20 rule when it comes to search engine optimization and ranking on Google. And what do we mean by the 80-20 rule? Well, 80-20 means we're investing 20% of our effort and 80% of the results are obtained. So we want to invest 20 and get back 80. That's basically what we mean by 80-20. So for example, if 20% of our targeted keywords bring in 80% of the traffic, then that's following the 80-20 rule. Or 20% of our landing pages drive 80% of the overall traffic, that's following the 80-20 rule. Or 20% of our backlinks pass 80% of our link juice. That's the 80-20 rule. Meaning these targeted keywords, these targeted landing pages, these trying to target backlinks using off-site engagement. We want to put in 20% of our effort on those keywords, landing pages, and backlinks in return for 80% of the results. So without further ado, let's get started with the keyword research. Let's talk about that keyword research for a website with shoes. And it doesn't really matter what particular product you have. If you need to rank number one on Google, it all starts with the keywords as I mentioned before. And so in this example, if you have a website where you sell shoes for kids, you're going to want to be found for certain keywords. So the obvious keyword here would be shoes for kids. Well, every keyword that you target has search volume associated with it. So that means when we talk about search volume, we're talking about how many people on average type in that keyword or related keyword on google.com or Google search. And there's always an average number of searches associated with every keyword, and we call that search volume. How much search volume? So obviously if we're going to target a keyword, we want to have as much volume as possible. However, there's always going to be competition for those keywords, meaning there's always going to be other websites who want to rank number one on Google for the same keywords. And we call that competition or difficulty. So for every keyword, you're going to have volume and you're going to have competition or difficulty. And the difficulty ranges as well, depending on the tool you use. And we'll get into that in a minute, but search volume is how much on average people are typing in that keyword or close variants of that keyword. And the difficulty is measured in terms of how many other websites are trying to rank for the same keyword. And so ideally, when it comes to keyword research, we want to find that nice balance. We want high volume and we want low competition. But at the same time, we want to focus on keywords that are highly relevant to our business. So if we're selling shoes for kids and shoes for kids is highly relevant, has high volume and low competition, then that's a keyword we want to target. So we always want to focus in on those three areas. So there's always a trade-off with keywords. So shoes for kids might have high volume, but also might have high competition or difficulty. If we look for another keyword that's just as relevant, for example, shoes for children, it may still have high search volume, but the competition or the difficulty may be lower. And if that's the case, then that may be a better keyword for us to target. Instead of something highly competitive like shoes for kids, we can focus on another relevant keyword like shoes for children with just as much volume and lower competition. And the reason why we want lower competition is because we want to be able to rank for that keyword. So the higher the competition, the harder it is for us to rank number one on Google for that keyword. And so the whole idea behind keyword research is analyzing and choosing the best keywords. So we want to identify a list of keywords that are always relevant. We want to choose the keyword that your competitors are ranking for. And we want to use third-party tools to choose keywords to identify which keywords have low competition and what keywords have high search volume. So one thing to take into consideration when you're doing keyword research is that the longer the keyword phrase, or in other words, long tail keywords or keywords with 3 keywords in the phrase or more, you're going to always have less competition. But there's always a trade-off. With long tail keywords, meaning the longer the keyword phrase, there's going to be less volume, but the trade-off is less competition. And so what we want to do is we want to brainstorm some ideas and find those relevant keywords. So let's look at an example here. So if we go to Google Ads, so Google Ads has a tool called Keyword Planner. And let's just say I have a website where I'm selling dried figs. And if I'm selling dried figs, I want people to buy these dried figs. However, in order to attract them, I want to be able to show them that, hey, we have a bunch of recipes. And if I show you a bunch of recipes where you can use dried figs, maybe you'll buy these dried figs to use in these recipes. And so we're going to look for keywords related to bread recipes, because if we can optimize for our recipes page for bread, then that will attract an audience who wants to make bread and use dried figs with those bread recipes. So that's the example I'm going to give here. And so if I look at the keyword planner in Google Ads, if I just type in bread recipes, what Google is going to do is they're going to give me an average monthly search volume. So I can see the average monthly search volume here is 60,500. And so in order to do keyword research, what I would recommend is keep a spreadsheet. And so the idea behind the spreadsheet is to document the volume and the competition you're getting for certain keywords. So if I go into a spreadsheet, here, my theme of keywords is bread recipes. My keyword is bread recipes, and my volume, therefore, is going to be 60,500. However, if I go back into Google's keyword planner, Google's telling me the competition is low. So that's great. I want high volume, I want low competition. But how low is low? So we want to be careful. So if we're going to put in numbers into a spreadsheet, we want to figure out what that competition really is for the keyword bread recipes. So if I go to Google and just type in bread recipes, I'm going to be able to see 771 billion results for the keyword bread recipes. Now, is 771 billion our real competition? Maybe, maybe not. What we want to do is put in a syntax, and we want to put in the syntax all in title and then colon, space, and then our keyword. And the reason why we do that in search is because we want to be able to identify the true competitive number, or the true number of websites who are trying to rank for bread recipes. And if we put in the syntax all in title, colon, and then our keyword bread recipes, we'll be able to see that there are 998,000 results. That's a lot lower than 771 billion. So that means that 998,000 sites or listings have the keyword bread recipes in the title tag. And the title tag is what shows up in the search engine results. And so if I look down and scroll down here, I can see bread recipes are in every one of these title tags. So title tag is an important element to rank #1 on Google, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But if we understand that there are 998,000 results with bread recipes in the title tag, then this tells us that those are the websites who are trying to rank #1 on Google for that keyword, and therefore those are the websites we need to jump over in order for our website to rank #1 on Google. And so therefore I'm going to put in 998,000 in my spreadsheet as the competitive number. And so now I could see for the keyword bread recipes, I have 60,500, and if my competition is 998,000, then my KEI, or Keyword Effectiveness Index, or in other words, the ratio of volume to competition, is 6%. So that's nothing more than volume divided by competition. So that tells me that my KEI, or my ratio between volume and competition, is 6%. So remember, we want more volume than we want competition. So anytime you do a keyword research, you're going to find a number of different relevant keywords. So if I go back into Google's keyword planner, if I typed in bread recipes, you could see that Google is going to give me a number of different keywords related to bread recipes. Let's just say I have another keyword that I want to think about optimizing for, being ranked on Google for, and that's banana bread recipe. Very similar keyword as bread recipes, except it's a little longer tail. Now, if I type in banana bread recipe in Google's keyword planner, now I can see the average monthly search volume has actually gone up. It's 368,000. I can also see the competition is low. So those are good signs. So now I can see 368,000. I'm going to go ahead and put that in my spreadsheet. Now I'm going to go into Google. I'm going to put in my syntax all in title. I'm going to put in banana bread recipe. I'm going to hit enter. And now I can see I have 233,000 results with the keyword banana bread recipe in the title tag. So if I look at the title tags, I can see banana bread recipe, banana bread recipe, banana bread recipe on all the listings in the Google search results. So that tells me I have 233,000 results that I have to jump over in order to rank number 1 on Google. So I'm going to put 233,000 in my spreadsheet. Now I can see my KEI, or my volume to competition ratio, is 158%. And so to me, that's a lot better number to work with, or in other words, that's a lot better keyword because it's just as relevant and it has a higher ratio of volume to competition. So therefore, banana bread recipe is going to be a better keyword to optimize for in order to rank number 1 on Google. So that's the whole idea behind keyword research. You want to brainstorm ideas. There are plenty of tools out there. So the tool I recommend is Google Ads Keyword Planner. Google's going to give you how much search volume. They're going to tell you the competition, but then you're going to go into Google search. You're going to use the syntax all in title to get a more accurate read on the actual competitive number. And so to find out how keywords that your competitors are ranking for, you can use those keyword tools that I mentioned. Another tool that I use is Moz. So Moz, if you go to moz.com, they have a tool called Keyword Explorer. So if we just type in the keyword, for example, bread recipes, it's going to be able to tell us how much volume and the difficulty. So you can use other tools at your disposal. Figure out the volume and the difficulty. There are plenty of tools out there. But the one thing I would just make sure is you use everything at your disposal. So you can use social media to find the most shared article for a particular topic or keyword, like bread recipes. You could check other platforms that have a lot of shared content, like Reddit and Quora, where you can ask people about certain topics using keywords to figure out how much competition or volume there might be. You could stay up to date on industry news to get an idea of what types of keywords are trending. But when it comes to keywords and keyword research, remember, for every web page, we want to be able to pick 2 keywords. We want a primary and secondary keyword. So when we do keyword research and we enter all our keywords into our spreadsheet, we want to be able to have a number of different keywords. In this case, we're focusing on the theme bread recipes. We want to have different keywords because we want to be able to choose a primary keyword and a secondary keyword, because we want to be able to focus on multiple keywords for each page, because we don't want to put necessarily all our eggs in one basket, meaning we won't want to put all our emphasis just on one keyword to rank for. We want multiple keywords to try and rank for. So the primary keyword can define the nature of our business. The secondary keyword could be just highly relevant to our keyword. At the end of the day, we want to choose multiple keywords to try and rank on Google for that page. So for example, we have a blog and we're using ice cream recipes and we're blogging about ice cream recipes. We can have a primary keyword that is about ice cream recipes or homemade ice cream recipes. We're going to always want to find out what the volume and the competition is. Our secondary keyword could be built around other similar keywords like low-fat ice cream recipes or fat-free ice cream recipes or low-fat homemade ice cream recipes. Those are complementary keywords, just like our bread recipes and banana bread recipe. So one thing we want to do when we do keyword research is we want to be able to target one keyword per content when you can target many. We want to be able to target multiple keywords, not necessarily target one keyword. And so we want to be able to cluster keywords. So we don't want to target just one, we want to target multiple keywords per page. And when we talk about clustering, if we go back to our keyword research, what we're doing is we're clustering a bunch of keywords under the theme bread recipes. And so by looking at the volume, looking at the competition, looking at the KEI, we can choose different keywords for our page. And that's what we mean by clustering. We want to cluster keywords into a content theme. So why target only one keyword per content when we can target many? Because we don't want to put all our eggs in one basket. We don't want to target just one keyword. We want to target many. And so that means clustering your keywords into a theme and choosing multiple keywords for that particular page. And when we do that, we have a better opportunity to rank high on Google search. And the whole idea behind ranking high on Google search is we can get the volume. So if we know we're ranked number 1 on Google search for bread recipes or banana bread recipe, we know we stand a chance of getting a majority of the volume associated with that keyword. And if we can get the volume and get the traffic, then we can get the conversions. So let's move on to high quality content and talk about the impact content has on your ability to get your website ranked number 1 on Google. So let's just say you have content on your website and the content is ranking on page 4 of Google. And it's that blog with ice cream recipes. And if it's just content for the sake of content, it's not really informative, then it's not necessarily going to get good engagement. In the eyes of Google, they want to rank content that's very informative, it's very fresh, it's exciting to read, it's interesting. It's going to have good engagement. So if it's a recipe or an article about any topic, if the content is just not informative, then you're not going to get good engagement. And when you don't get good engagement, if people don't stay on the site to engage in the content and they just leave the website after landing on the page, causing a bounce, then the content's just going to continue to fall down the rankings. And we want to prevent that. We want to move up the rankings. We want to be number 1 on Google. We don't necessarily want to fall in the rankings for our content. So content is a key driver in being able to rank number 1 on Google. So if the content is on page 9, what can we do? Well, we want to be able to, take that content and do something with it. We feel like we did write engaging content, so let's go ahead and share it on social media. And to me, social media is a good platform to share your content because on social media platforms like Facebook, for example, you're building a community on that platform. That community is already interested in your content. So if you're sharing an ice cream recipe, especially in the summertime, and you're engaging with your community on that platform, then the likelihood of that community on that platform is going to increase engagement. Increased engagement will send social signals to the search engine that says, hey, this content is good quality. Likewise for any other platform. Most social media platforms have engagement metrics, and those engagement metrics pass signals. Is it good? Is it not good? Do we like this content? Are we giving it a thumbs up? Are we going to want to follow it? Are we going to want to share it? And so if you share content that you feel is engaging on social platforms, then it's going to be engaging and it's likely going to cause an increase in engagement, for example, a decrease in bounces. And once you share that quality content then the likelihood of it moving up the rankings, even as far as number one on Google, is going to be greater. So you always want to start out writing good quality content. So let's talk about good quality content, because Google does take content seriously. They do take into account what other people think of that content. So high quality content is an important factor. So how to create good content? That's always the question. So let's talk about some best practices here. Remember, in the last segment, we talked about keyword research. So we want to perform good keyword research. Why? Because we want to choose keywords. Remember, we're choosing multiple keywords per page. One keyword could be related to our brand. One keyword could be related to the content, but another keyword could be related to a user's intent, like recipes. If you recall the example we used with bread recipes, maybe somebody's looking to type in a keyword that says, how do I make, a bread? Or how do I make a specific type of bread? Or how do I make banana bread? Or what's the best recipe for banana bread? They're question related, and we want to be able to answer those questions. So that's where choosing those right keywords that's going to respond to a user's intent. So starts with choosing the right keywords. So remember, we talked about a number of different tools when we talked about keyword research. So there's a research tool that you can use called phrase.io, and that will help you do quick research on, keywords and trends and whatnot. So if you know a better research tool that you use for keyword research, then drop us a comment below. I'd be interested in getting your comments about keyword research and what research tools are out there. So if you know something better than phrase.io, drop a comment below and we'd be interested in getting your perspective. So keyword research is key, but creating content that fulfills users' requirements. So answering those questions. If it's a recipe, we want to answer that question. If it's directions, we want to answer that question. If they don't know how to do something, we want to answer that question. And that's the whole idea behind content. Content is not just to fill a page, it's to really fulfill users' requirements. That's when you get good engagement. So if somebody's typing in something on Google and they're looking for an answer, your content should answer that question. But we also want to make the content readable. So in other words, write for your audience. Don't impress anybody with very high vocabulary type words that somebody doesn't necessarily know the meaning of. Don't use jargon. Don't use a street language, for example. Use everyday common language that's just easily digestible when your audience is reading. And then we want to keep that content organized. And so when we mean organized, we want to use headers and subheaders. Break your content into paragraphs. Keep the flow organized. If we can keep the flow organized, then it's going to be easier for somebody to read. And then it's okay to add resources, especially resources from credible sites. So if you can incorporate those resources in there, then it's just going to add the credibility to your content and let the audience know that, hey, I've done my research on this topic, and this is what this person has to say about it. This person who seems to be credible. Okay, so it only adds value to your content. So these are all tips to remember when creating content. And then the one important tip here is we want to use white hat techniques. And when we say white hat techniques, that means, if we've chosen keywords that are going to answer somebody's question, we don't want to stuff those keywords into the content. We want the content to be naturally written. So when we say opt for white hat techniques, that's what we mean. Write the content naturally. Keep it organized, keep it readable, include third-party sources, and make sure it answers a question. So there are different types of content. So there's content where you just write words. It's all text-based. You could also use an infographic. An infographic is simply just a graphic that visualizes exactly what you're trying to explain. For example, if we want to write an article about how to write good, engaging content, we don't necessarily have to write all that out as a text. We can create an infographic. So for example, here's an infographic on 20 effective ways to basically not bore your readers, but write engaging content. So you could see this is an infographic. It's all graphically laid out. So infographics tend to be easier to understand because they're visual. they're easy for the end user to comprehend because there's generally no jargon. It's usually images that are portraying the point of what you're trying to get across. And so it tends to break it up, the monotony of just text. It's more visually appealing, and it's laid out and organized. So you can see this infographic has 20 different steps or rules, and they lay those out all here in this infographic. And the great thing I like about infographics is you could share them on social media, you can re-engage them as a post, you could save them on really any social platform. So infographics tend to tell a better story versus, say, just writing text. You can use video and images, so you don't necessarily have to lay it all out in an infographic. You can certainly insert a video or an image into your content, especially if it's a blog post. If it's a blog post, then sometimes video and images on its own tell the story. You don't necessarily need text to go ahead and tell your story. A video or an image, as they say, tells 1,000 words. And so images and videos are great to use in a blog post. So using different forms of content, you always want to review your content. When a user dwells on your web page for a longer time, Google will tend to think, okay, this person's engaged, so we're going to rank that favorably. So if you're using infographics, videos, and images, then the chances of somebody being more engaged are going to increase versus just text that's not well organized and written out in a way that somebody doesn't necessarily understand. So be creative in the types of content you use. So longer engaging content tends to bode well with search engines. So this is according to HubSpot. So the more word count you use, the more words you use, the chances of you ranking higher are going to be better. Just take into account best practices. You want to maybe break up the content with an image, organize it, make it engaging, use headers. So it's not necessarily just words, it's the words and how those words are written, how they're structured, the types of keywords you're using, how you're engaging with your audience. There's a lot of factors, again, those best practices we just went over. But the key is, if you have longer, more engaging content, then it's going to bode better for you on search engines. So a couple of steps to create high quality content. So you want to begin with a comprehensive introduction. So always introduce your content. Remember, the content should be relevant to the keywords. So if you're choosing keywords in your keyword research, think about answering that question. If somebody's typing in bread recipes, maybe they're looking for banana bread recipes. How to make the best banana bread, or how to make banana bread using dried figs. We want to be able to align our content with that keyword naturally. You want to create a title that's worthy, that's click-worthy. So remember, if you're in Google search and you're doing search for something simple like bread recipes, we want to make something that's going to be engaging for somebody to click on, like easy perfect yeast bread or easy crusty French bread, or something that's going to be engaging. The best bread recipes, or how to make the best homemade bread. Something that's going to draw somebody's attention to the title of that blog post. So we want to include LSI keywords. So what I mean by LSI keywords in your content, we mean, long tail keywords. Make it natural. Headings and subheadings should consist of keywords and variants. So if you're writing headers and subheaders, include the keyword in there. And that way, the content always stays relevant to the audience. Okay, shorten your sentences and paragraphs, so don't write long paragraphs. Remember, we want to break this up. We want to make it easy for the end user to read. And we want to always put internal links on our blog post. Why? Because if we have internal links, then if we have a link from one blog post to another blog post, or say our blog post to an internal page on our website, we want to make sure that it's relevant content. That way, if somebody's reading something and you have an internal link, let's just say from a bread recipes page to a banana bread recipes page, then they may find it interesting, click on that link and go to the banana bread recipes page. So it's keeping somebody engaged on your website. So putting in internal linking will help keep the end user engaged, because you're offering up links that's relevant to the content. You always want to break up that content with images. Okay, we want to use alt tags, meaning we want to pen the image with text, so that way if the image doesn't load, then at least the alt text will load. So we can incorporate call out boxes, and more importantly, we want to update our content regularly. So we always want to get the best recipe out there if it's banana bread, or different ways to create banana bread, or always just coming up with ways to update the content. So we want to keep our content, our blog post fresh. And then we want to include a CTA, call to action. If we include a call to action, then that's going to keep somebody engaged and have them act on your content. So these are steps to creating high quality content. And so let's look at an example here. And this is a 3-month-old post on BuzzFeed. And it's 21 pictures that restore your faith in humanity. So it has a lot of likes, a lot of tweaks, and that means it's engaged. People are engaged when reading that. And so if we go and look at it as an example, we could see it on BuzzFeed here, 21 pictures that will restore your faith in humanity. So this was written back in 2012. Again, a lot of engagement. But if we look at it, we can see immediately that it's taking into account third-party sources. It's got some content, it's got images, it's being broken up by images. We could see there's call to actions on there in the form of social, so people can go ahead and share it if they like it. Okay. It includes videos, it includes images, third-party sources. So it's a good post because, listen, it's engaging content. It's probably answering somebody's question about humanity. And we could see clearly that, look, there's a lot of different examples here from a lot of different sources, and we could take action on this content. So not just video, not just images, but text as well. And so it's very engaging, answers questions, takes into account the different types of content available. So this is a good post in that regard. So content's updated regularly, it's engaging, and it includes sources from high authority websites. Some do's and don'ts on the content. So take into account the best practices I mentioned about creating high quality content. Okay. Answer those questions that the end user wants to hear, because that likely is going to be their search. And so you want to be able to respond to the end user. That's part of creating high quality content. Different types of content, i.e. in the form of infographics or videos or text or images. You can add images from public domain sites. You can be relatable and use examples to clarify points, just like the BuzzFeed article. Simplify complex words. Don't use sophisticated language. Talk to your audience as if they were standing right in front of you. And use bullet points to exemplify your examples, your points. So some do's, the don'ts. Obviously, don't lift content. We don't want to lift content from another website. So that's plagiarism. So we want to have our own unique content. We also don't want to take images from other websites. And so if you do happen to find an image that works for your post and it's on somebody else's website, ideally that's not a good situation. But if you do happen to do that, then always give credit to the website. Okay, so if you took it from xyz.com, credit xyz.com for the image. And even put a link back. But ideally, you don't want to take images from other websites. Just as much as you don't want to take copy, you don't want to take images. Use your own imagery and content. But if you don't have imagery, then you can always go to stock photography. There are plenty of websites out there where you can sign up for a subscription, like Adobe Stock Images as an example. You could sign up for an account, and in some cases you can sign up for a free account and use stock imagery. Okay, don't give less information to your audience. Give your audience what they deserve, which is the information they're looking for. They're looking for the best banana bread recipes. Give them the best banana bread recipes. Incorporate your own images. Break it up with titles. Give them a good quality piece of content that they're going to be able to engage with. And so if you put long paragraphs in your content, then it's going to be less engaging. So try to avoid those long paragraphs. Remember, shorten up the paragraphs, keep the language simple, add in images, answer those questions, use third-party credible sources, but write it in your own words, and you should be on your way to creating good quality content. Okay, so now that we've talked about high quality content in order to get your pages ranked high on Google search, let's turn our attention to optimizing on-page elements and discuss some website level factors that are both going to help you rank high on Google search. So let's just do an overview of what we're talking about when we talk about on-page elements and website level factors. So optimizing on-page elements include a number of different things. But primarily, we're going to focus in on meta tags, also known as meta description tags, header tags, also known as title tags, and URLs. So those are just some of the on-page elements we want to be able to optimize using relevant keywords in order to rank high on Google search. We also want to take a look at some website factors that will affect our ranking on Google search. They include website architecture, having a secure website, having a sitemap, and taking a look at page speed. So all of those are some of the website factors we need to take into account in order to rank high on Google search. So title tag and meta description together are considered meta tags. So both play an important role in ranking high on Google. So we want to be able to write unique title and descriptions for each page on our website. When I say unique, that means the title and the meta description need to be different for every page on the website. And so if you're not quite sure what a title tag and a meta description tag is, if you go to search and just type in any particular search query, the title tag is what's going to show up here in bold, and then the description is going to show up below it, below the URL, and that's going to describe the page. So both of these meta tags are important because it describes what your page is all about, and that's what Google uses in the search results pages. So we want to be able to pay attention to the length of our meta tags. So if we go back to our search results pages, title tags are generally 65 characters. Meta description tags are generally 160 characters. So anything really longer than that, then what's going to happen is the meta description tag or the title tag will get truncated. And so if we look here, for example, we can see all of the title tags here fit the 65 character limit. But if you run over the character count on meta description, then Google is going to truncate the copy. So you want to stay within your parameters in order to avoid getting your content truncated. And so the other thing when we're writing title meta description tags, we want to minimize keyword repetition. So if we're optimizing for keyword, we don't want to necessarily just plug that keyword into the title tag and meta description multiple times. We want to make sure our title tags and meta descriptions are naturally written. So if somebody's typing for banana bread recipe with dried figs, we want to have a nice title tag and a description that is going to get somebody to respond based on their need. And so we definitely want to avoid keyword repetition, but we want to be able to use that keyword in the title tag. Because if you remember from the earlier segment, when we did the all-in title syntax to find out exactly how many competitors were using that particular keyword, well, we obviously want to use that keyword in the title tag because, again, the title tag is an important factor when it comes to search engine results. So we want to use the keyword, but we want to avoid stuffing or using it repetitively in our title tag and our meta description. We want the title tag and the meta description to describe the page, sound natural, but also be engaging, because the point is we want people to click on our link and go to our website from search engines. So title tags with numbers tend to result in higher click-through rates. This is according to Moz. So for example, if you just put in a title tag that says learn digital marketing, well, that may work, but if you put a number in there like 5 easy ways to learn digital marketing, that might get somebody to click on your link and go to your website. So having questions in your meta tags can also increase your click-through rate. For example, if you just put learn the importance of first page rankings, not too bad, but again, generic. But if you put it into the form of a question, how to rank number 1 on Google, it's more action oriented. It's going to get somebody to resonate with the question that they have. And that may be their query, how to rank #1 on Google. And so these techniques will help you get higher click-through rates. And so according to Backlinko, title tag with a keyword can improve site ranking. So remember, we want to include that keyword in the title tag. Even though we only have 65 characters, we want to include that keyword, but we want to avoid stuffing the keyword in there. We want to, again, make the title tag action-oriented, maybe with a number, maybe as a question, with the keyword in there once, naturally. Not easy to do, but that's the beauty of SEO. If you can follow these best practices and write a good title tag, then the chances of you improving in your search results are going to be greater. So having only one H1 tag in your post is going to be good. So remember, when somebody clicks on a link, so let's just say they do find a title tag engaging and they click on this link here and they go to that website, you want to start out with having that particular H1 tag, because the H1 tag, especially with the keyword in it, is going to signal to Google, hey, we're organizing our page, and because it's an H1 tag, it's important. We're structuring the page according to best practices. So having only one H1 tag in your post is definitely helpful. Having multiple tags, H tags in your post, help organize the page a lot better. So we want to add that targeted keyword in that tag, and your header tags should be relevant to the content. So if we go back to our example of the using dried figs with banana breads, well, the title says California Fig Banana Bread. And remember the last segment when we were talking about high quality content? Well, look no further than including a video into our content. So not only will this video help keep the engagement high, but it breaks up the monotony of the page. And it's from a third-party source, so it adds credibility to the page. So adding a video based on the last segment of high-quality content definitely helps with ranking high on Google search. So following hierarchical structure, that means putting those H tags in there. H2 tags help break up the content. And we want to avoid repetition of H1 tags on your different web pages of your site, meaning don't just put the same H1 tag with the same keyword in it and keeping it blasé. We want to make those H1 tags exciting to read, but also used appropriately to break up the content. So remember, all white hat techniques. We want to avoid hidden tags. We want to avoid stuffing keywords. We want things to be natural. We don't want things to be forced. And your H1 tag should be 20 to 70 characters. Don't make long H1 tags. If we go back to our page example, a short, sweet tag here, California Fig Banana Bread. It's relevant to the content. It's short, sweet, and breaks up the monotony of the content. And more importantly, and again, any content you have on the page should always answer the user's intent. Remember, people are using search to answer questions, find information. Our content should be able to answer that for them. So, according to John Mueller, Senior Webmaster Trends Analyst at Google, header tags would definitely help Google for rankings in the search results. So we want to use header tags. So when it comes to URLs, we want to use hyphens and avoid underscores. So if we look at this URL here, this uses hyphens, fig and banana bread. So it's all broken up with hyphens. That's a best practice. Remember, canonical URLs. A canonical URL signals to Google this is the original content. So we want to use original content. And if you have multiple sources of content out there on, say, different websites, we want to use a canonical tag to signal to Google, this is the original content. Please index this content. And that doesn't hurt to use a favicon in URL, meaning a small icon. It helps to break up the monotony and help your URL stand out. We can add targeted keywords in the URL. So again, looking at the URL here, I could see we're using targeted keyword as part of the URL structure. Fig and banana bread. And notice the H1 tag is fig banana bread. So it's all consistent and it flows naturally. URLs that are no longer existing, then we want to be able to set up a redirect for those URLs, meaning a 301 redirect is a server response for Google that says, hey, Google, this page is no longer available, but we permanently redirected it to this page, which is now available. So that's what a 301 redirect does. It helps signal to Google and all the other search engines that if the page is no longer there, that's fine. You're just going to go to this page. This is the page that's permanently there now. And another thing we want to do here is if you have mobile URLs, you want to include those in the sitemap. And we're going to hit on that in just a minute. But all URLs should be mobile friendly as well as desktop friendly, meaning take into account those best practices. Keep your URLs short, use hyphens, put the keyword in that URL, and make it easy to understand. Want to avoid capital letters in the URLs. The URLs are case sensitive, so go lowercase. You should always go lowercase on the URL. Readable URLs, again, the rule of thumb here is if you understand what the URL is, then Google's going to understand what the URL is. So the shorter the URL, the easier it is to read. The easier it is to read, the better chance you have to rank high on Google search. So according to Backlink 2, URLs that are shorter definitely help you rank. So we want to be able to shorten those URLs. Keep them short and sweet. Don't make them long and unreadable. So those are some optimized ways or on-page elements that help you optimize. Now we want to look at some website level factors that will help you optimize and rank high on Google search. So good site structure provides better crawling for search engine bots. And what do we mean by that? Well, we mean having your site organized in a fashion that Google's going to be able to find all the pages. So what do we mean by that? Create a logical hierarchy structure. So if you're selling shoes, you're going to have a home page, break the structure up into men's shoes, women's shoes, children's shoes. Then under men's shoes, you could have it by brand. It could be Nike, Puma, Adidas. On the women's side, it could be Nike, Puma, Adidas. On the child side, it could be Nike, Puma, Adidas. And so you want to keep the structure, flow, and a hierarchy. So we want to balance the amount of subcategories within each category. So the men's, if it has Nike, Puma, Adidas, the women should have Nike, Puma, Adidas. And so you want to code your site navigation in CSS or HTML, meaning we want to be able to use something that Google is going to be able to index. So most sites are built in HTML, and that's what Google likes to index. They like to index something that they could take back to their servers. And then more importantly, build a comprehensive structure for internal linking. So internal links mean that if you're on a site, you should have natural links pointing to other pages on your website. So to keep the flow going. And we don't want to have unnatural inbound links. You always want to have natural internal links to keep the flow of the user going from one page to the other. So here I could see, as an example, all the ingredients in this recipe. Well, this has an internal link to another page on our site. And this happens to link to a page where somebody can buy the ingredient. So it's a natural internal link. So John Doherty of Credo has claimed that one of the biggest changes that he can make in fixing the Credo website is architecture. So for example, in Credo, John Doherty has increased the organic sessions by 74% and pages per session by 41%, just by changing the site architecture. So you'd be surprised by changing the site architecture what that will do to engagement. And so let's turn our attention to secure versus non-secure. So what we mean by that is securing your site. We want to make it sure that compliant with certain protocols. And so if we go back here, we can see that this particular site is compliant, it is secure. HTTPS means it has a secure license, meaning the site is secure. So Google likes secure versus non-secure. So non-secure would be HTTP. So we want HTTPS as our protocol. And what that means is just enabling SSL certificates. And that means when you enable an SSL certificate, that means your domain or your protocol is going to be turned to HTTPS. So Google prefers sites that are secure versus non-secure. So if you use HSTS as a protocol, that adds an extra layer of security over the HTTPS. and HSTS prevents cookie hijacking. So adding multiple layers of security always helps. In my opinion, if you have an HTTP website, a non-secure website, you should look into buying an SSL certificate, getting your sites flipped over to HTTPS, because what's going to happen is your URL structure is going to change. When your URL structure changes, Google's going to recognize that because they're going to index your site. And when they index your site, they're going to see those secure URLs. And that's going to work favorably in your favor and help you rank higher on Google search. So websites using secure or HTTPS have a higher chance of ranking higher. So HTTPS is a ranking signal because Google indexes those pages. So let's also talk about sitemaps. So sitemap is one of the most important ways to improve your website ranking. Why? Well, because sitemaps are a way to organize all your URLs into one file. So we're basically going to prioritize all our web pages in a sitemap. So if you go to any particular website and you type in sitemap XML, you're likely going to see all the pages on your website. So usually the sitemap is located in the root directory. So if I type in sitemap.xml, I'm going to be able to see all the pages in my root directory. And I can also prioritize them. I can also alert Google as to how often they change. And every page is going to have a date stamp associated with it. So Google can actually see how often it changes. So remember, we want our content to be updated frequently. So if content's not updated frequently or it's not fresh, then Google's going to see that date stamp, that last modification date. So we want to be able to make sure our content's updated frequently. We want to let Google know that we changed it frequently. And we want to be able to prioritize our pages, let Google know, hey, these pages are important to us. So all that can be set up in a sitemap. We want to be able to add canonical versions of URLs in the sitemap. So we want to be able to add all our original URLs in our sitemap. And so we always want to build dynamic URLs sitemaps for larger websites. And what I mean by dynamic URLs, that means that if I look at this sitemap and we're always adding content, let's just say in the form of a blog, well, guess what? We want those pages to be added to the sitemap as they're published. So as we add pages to the blog or to the site, then they should automatically be added to the sitemap. And so in effect, what's going to happen is we're going to be able to see the sitemap grow with more URLs. When the sitemap grows with more URLs, then that means then Google's going to index more pages. They're going to index more fresh pages. So they're going to be able to get those pages that are just published quicker. So that's the whole idea behind dynamic sitemaps, is we want to be able to capture all the URLs just as they're published. And we want to be able to maintain our sitemaps. And so I would always recommend a dynamic sitemap, but you can always create your own sitemap just by going to a tool called XML sitemap. So if I just type in XML sitemaps into Google search, here I could see XML sitemaps generator, and I can be able, if I have a small website, just create a free and simple sitemap on my own. When XML sitemaps creates it, or your platform creates a dynamic sitemap, either way, the sitemap's going to sit in the root directory. And then what we want to do in turn is let Google know where that sitemap is. So in Search Console, we want to be able to submit the sitemap. So you're going to add the sitemap, you're going to let Google know where it is. It should be in the root directory, and it should be called sitemap.xml. And when you do that, Google's going to be able to take those URLs and index them. So we could see we submitted 528 URLs, Google indexed 521. So one thing about URLs here is when we create a sitemap, we're putting all our URLs in there. We do not add no index URLs in your sitemap. And what that means is that any URL we don't want Google to index, we're just going to exclude from the sitemap. Okay, so we want Google to take all the URLs we want indexed and put them in the sitemap. So according to Edgy, using sitemaps for SEO can increase your website's visibility and help you get indexed. Why? Because what you're in fact doing is taking all your URLs that you want indexed. You're telling Google how often they're modified. You're telling Google which ones are important, and you're submitting that to Google. And so Google's going to be able to take all these URLs quicker, index them quicker, and when they're indexed quicker, you can get ranked quicker. And when you get ranked quicker, you can get traffic quicker. So that's the whole idea behind sitemaps. So let's turn our attention to page speed now. So one of the last factors for our website, besides architecture, making it secure, and adding sitemaps, is we want to take a look at how quick our pages load. Here are some tips in order to optimize page speed, because ideally the quicker a page loads, the more engaged the user is going to be. If it takes a longer time for the page to load all the elements of that page, then what's going to happen is the user is going to get impatient, maybe leave the website altogether or go to another page. And so we want to be able to optimize images. So any image that's of large size in terms of megabytes, we want to be able to optimize that, compress the image. So that's one way to speed up page speed. We want to use a simple website design. HTML with CSS or cascading style sheets. Just a simple design with simple hierarchy and website navigation structure. So nothing fancy, nothing complex, just a simple website design with optimized images. We want to leverage browser caching, and we want to upgrade the server response time, meaning all your files are sitting on the server. So when somebody goes to a web page, the server is serving up all of those files, the images, the text, etc. And so we want the server to respond as quick as possible. So when it comes to page speed, we can look at the factors affecting page speed in Google Analytics. So if I go to Google Analytics and I go under behavior and I go under site speed and I go to overview, I'm going to be able to see what my average load time is for my site. And ideally, we want our pages to load as quick as possible. So that means anything under 4 seconds. Anything 4 seconds or higher, and it's likely the end user is going to leave the page. There's a correlation between page load time and bounce rate. And so what Google actually does is give you speed suggestions. So if we do have a page that loads slow, we can just go to speed suggestions in Google Analytics. And we go to speed suggestions, then Google's going to be able to tell us, hey, this particular page load fast, this particular page load slow, and if it loaded slow, why is it loading slow? So here we could see the home page, as an example, is loading on average of 7 seconds. Well, if we look here, they're going to give us some suggestions. So if I click on this page speed suggestions, it's going to load a report and a tool called Page Speed Insights. And basically what it's then going to do after it's done running is it's going to tell me all the ways in which I can optimize my pages. Not only for desktop, but also for mobile. So here I can see for desktop or for mobile, I can look at some ways in which I can optimize it to increase page speed. For example, sizing my images properly, server response time, reducing my server response time, avoiding multiple page redirects. So there's a lot of opportunities that we can do to speed up page load time. And all that's found in Page Speed Insights, and all that's found within Google Analytics. So remember, optimizing code, minimizing redirects, optimizing your images, upgrading your server response time, all of those are factors. And so again, you can go into Analytics, Page Speed Insights, and you can see exactly what Google is recognizing as what's lowering or slowing down your page load time. So Google takes site speed as one of the most important ranking factors. Why? Because they're going to rank pages not only with high quality content that are relevant to the keyword queries, but they want those pages to have a good user experience. So if somebody clicks on the page, then the user should be able to see that content fairly quickly. And so that's why it's such an important factor. So the quicker your pages load, the chances of you ranking higher are going to be better. So according to Web Performance Today, Walmart, as an example, experienced a decline in conversions. So what they did was looked at their page speed. And when they looked at their page speed, you'd be surprised what that did. just increasing it from 1 to 4 seconds or decreasing it basically increase conversion. So there's always going to be a correlation between how quick a page loads and how engaged the user is. Because if the user's engaged, they're going to stay on the site. And if they stay on the site, then their chances of converting are going to be higher. So just even 1 to 2 seconds increase in page load time will make a world of difference in terms of engagement and conversions. Let's turn our attention to off-site engagement. So previously we talked about on-page elements and website factors that affect our rankings for search results, but we also need to turn our attention away from our website, meaning what we do on our website, and turn our attention what we can do for our website off our website and onto other websites. So that's off-site engagement. And so let's look at an example. So that ice cream recipes blog, I'm going to talk about how to rank YouTube videos today. So at Simply Learn, we take our videos on YouTube very seriously, meaning that when we create videos, we want people to see them because we know we make good videos and we know we have good content and we know that our audience is going to enjoy it. And so we want our audience to see the videos that we're creating. And so we're going to give you some tips and tricks and methodology and ideas on how to get your videos to rank on YouTube. So at Simply Learn, if I go to YouTube and I just type in machine learning, you can see we're right here is the first organic video on YouTube for machine learning. If I jump over to Google and I type in machine learning basics, you can see we're number 1 for machine learning basics under videos. If I click on all, we're also ranked here as well under the videos section on organic search results. Another example, data science for beginners. We ranked number 1 for that. If I look at another keyword, data science interview questions, okay, we'll rank number 2 for that. So we're ranking for a lot of videos. And why are we ranking for a lot of different content and videos on Google search and on YouTube? Well, we put a lot of work in behind the scenes of creating the video, and that's what we want to show you. So part of that has a lot to do with how our audience engages and sees our video. So for example, we're looking at the machine learning basics video here. And we can see that it has over 221,000 subscribers for this video, 234,000 views. We've had over 2,000 people like the video, and we have had over 270 plus comment on the video. So when we get our videos to rank, then we can see there's a lot of engagement. And so that's the whole idea, is when you do a video and you want it to show up on YouTube, you want people to enjoy it, you want people to share it, you want people to like it, you want people to comment on it. And that's part of the whole ecosystem of YouTube. It's, we're going to show you behind the scenes of what it takes to get your videos to rank. And then we're going to show you some of the metrics involved with some of these videos to help you stay ranking. So without further ado, let's go into how to get your videos to rank on YouTube. So we're going to talk about keyword research for YouTube. We're going to talk about some ways to create high quality videos. So the importance of user engagement, just as I showed you with the machine learning basics video, all the shares, all the commenting, all the views and subscriptions. Then we're going to get into how to promote your content. And then we're going to just review a little checklist for you and sum it all up. So let's get started with keyword research. So basically what we want to do is center our keywords, just like our website. We want to center our keywords around, or our content around, good keywords. So the videos on YouTube are no different than the web pages on our website. So if we have somebody who states YouTube is the world's second most well-known engine, well, it is, because it's right behind Google. It's not a search engine per se, it's a video platform, but if it was a search engine, it'd probably be second right behind Google. So YouTube is pretty popular. Majority of people use YouTube search every day to watch videos on a number of different topics. So they can find these videos in Google, but because YouTube's so powerful and so popular, people go directly right into YouTube for their searches. And so the whole idea behind YouTube being the second most well-known search engine is centered around keywords. So if you have the right keywords for your video, then the chances of you ranking higher increases on YouTube. So we're going to share with you a few easy ways to do keyword research. This is the most important step in getting your videos to rank on YouTube. Just like for those of you who watched any of the SEO videos we produced at Simply Learn, you know that keyword research is so essential to getting your web pages to rank on Google. Well, it's no different. Keyword research and choosing the right keywords is just as important for your videos as it is for your web pages. So we're going to go into a few things to do here to find the right keywords. So we have the search suggestion. You can look at your competitors. We have different tools we can use, some other factors involved in Google itself. So let's start talking about some of these ways to really hone in and do some good research on your keywords to align them with your videos. So first thing is search suggest. So YouTube has a feature called autocomplete. So if you've done any searches on Google, it's very similar. If you're typing something into YouTube search, then YouTube is going to suggest other related popular keywords. So let's take a look at that. If we go back to YouTube for a second, and I just type in machine learning, YouTube is going to populate on the autocomplete in the search bar some other popular keywords that we can potentially use. Or in this case, if I choose, machine learning tutorial, I'm going to see a video about machine learning tutorial. So here you can see Simply Learn's ranked #1 for machine learning tutorial, but there are other videos that show up in my search result. So we want to be able to use the search suggestion box in the search box field. So when we're typing in something, YouTube, just like on Google, is going to give us those suggestions. So if we're focusing a video on machine learning, then, we have some ideas of some other keywords that we could center around, because these are our popular keywords. These are keywords that people are using to search on YouTube. So that's one suggestion. Looking at competitors is another suggestion. So we could search for keywords used by our competitors in their video title and description. So let me talk a little bit about that. What you want to do is you want to go to that particular channel of your competitor. So when you go to your particular competitor's YouTube channel, you want to be able to click on the videos tab. When you click on the videos tab, then you're going to sort by most popular, and then what you could do is see a list of videos, and then when you look at a list of videos, you're going to choose a video, and then what you're going to do then is take a look at the keywords used in the title and description. And then once you do that, you're going to have a list of keywords that you can use yourself for that video. So for example, let's go back to YouTube. So if I go to type in Simply Learn, here's their channel page just by clicking on Simply Learn. If I click on videos.
Ever wonder if there's
So now I can see all the videos.
Ever wonder if there's an easier way?
Go back. So here I can see all the videos, sort by most popular. Once I do that, then I could choose a video. This is the most popular video right now for Simply Learn. If I click on that video, it's automatically going to start playing. But what I could do is simply just look at, the content and description. So just by clicking show more, I can see all the content that align with this video. That's one way to do it, is simply by looking at your competitors. Now, what you could also do is look at the tags associated with the particular video. And so what you want to do is you want to look at the HTML. And so that means looking at the page source. So just like web pages, what YouTube does is they look at meta tags. So if you call from SEO, in order to get your pages to rank, you need to have a title tag and a meta tag description. So videos are no different. What we're doing for YouTube is aligning certain keywords with the video. So if you take a look and do a search for keywords by viewing the page source, you're going to see all the keywords associated with a particular video. So for example, if I go back to YouTube and I look at the page source of a video, let's just say this video here, Facebook's ad tutorial, I'm going to pull up the page source. And all I need to do is Control F and type in keywords. And now for that Facebook video, I can see all the keywords associated with the video. So you can see there's a lot of different keywords we're aligning with this video. And so why do we want to do that? Because we want, our video to show up for keywords that people may type in. And so if you use that YouTube autocomplete, it's going to give you those ideas, those most popular keywords. So if they're related, align those keywords with the video. So here you can see Facebook marketing, Facebook ad strategy, Facebook ads for beginners, so forth and so on. So there's a lot of keywords we've aligned here with that particular video. And again, all you need to do is look at the page source. So right-clicking, view page source, do a Control F for keywords, and you'll be able to see the keywords aligned. So you could do that for your competitors' videos as well. So you could see what keywords your competitors using for a video that's most popular for their channel and is also ranking on YouTube and on Google. So using the autocomplete gives you those keyword ideas. Looking at your competitors' videos also gives you some other ideas for keywords that you can align with a video that's relevant that you want to rank for. So let's look at some other ideas here. So you can install plugins, and there are plenty of plugins available on the Chrome browser that will help you see the video tags associated with a particular video. So a couple of examples are vidIQ and TubeBuddy. Those are extensions that work in Chrome, and what they do is they give you the exact tags that a particular video is using. So for example, if I go back here and I look at a video on YouTube, let's just say the machine learning basics video, I have vidIQ installed on my Chrome browser. So just by clicking on that, vidIQ is going to give me a lot of information about that video. They're just going to give me an overview of their particular metrics. They're going to give me some other information associated with Facebook, some engagement metrics. Really what I'm interested in is those keywords. So if I scroll down a bit, here I can see the video tags associated with the machine learning basics video. So vidIQ is telling me is these keywords are associated with this video. And not only does it show me what keywords are associated, I can also see where they rank. So for machine learning basics, this particular video ranks number 1. If I go down, I could see what is machine learning and how does it work. I could see it's ranked number 2. Here I could see machine learning algorithms, it's ranked number 9. So I can get some ideas of the types of keywords that are being used as tags for that video. Further down, I can also see some channel tags. But really, this is the video tags are the idea place I want to be able to look to get an idea of the types of keywords that are associated with the video that are also ranking or not ranking. So that's another way for you to really get an understanding of what keywords to use with a particular video. So autocomplete, you can look at the page source of a competitor's video, or you can use a Chrome extension. In this case, I'm using vidIQ to give me some information about the video tags for a particular video. So according to an industry study, using keywords and video tags will help you rank well on YouTube. So you have to use keywords and video tags if you want your video to rank. There's been a lot of studies. YouTube is so popular and videos are so prominent in today's world where if you have videos and you're going to upload them to YouTube, then associate the right keywords with those videos. So some important factors when we look at keywords. What we want to do is look at search volume, we want to look at competition, we want to look at relevancy, we want to look at the primary and secondary keywords that we want to use. So well-chosen keywords will help you rank. So we just gave you some ideas on how to do some keyword research. Again, those ideas were really to use the autocomplete on YouTube or Google. They're going to give you some popular keywords. You can look what your competitors are doing by looking at the page source and just looking at the keywords that are aligned with that video. Or you can use a third-party extension in Chrome. In my example, I use vidIQ that gave me the keywords associated with that video. So you have ways to get the keywords. So what we want to do is we want to make sure we choose keywords with high search volume. They're going to drive more traffic to your video. However, we want to balance it out with keywords that have low difficulty and are easier to rank for. So you don't want to choose something very broad that's just going to be very difficult to rank for. And of course, we always want to go with relevancy. So if we're talking about machine learning basics, then we want to choose keywords associated with that. And that's where that autocomplete comes in handy, because what Google's going to do and YouTube's going to do is give us keywords that are very closely related to the video that we're trying to optimize for. And so we have a number of different keywords at our disposal that are relevant that we can look to see if they have good volume and low competition. And so the whole idea is we want to choose a keyword that defines the nature of the content. And then what we want to do is support that with secondary keywords. So we want keywords that are highly relevant to the primary keyword. So that's the way to go about aligning your keywords. You want keywords that are high volume, low competition, are relevant, and you want to choose that one keyword that is really what the content's about, and then those secondary keywords that support the primary. So if you have a machine learning video, you could choose your primary keyword as, in this case, the machine learning basics video. So well-chosen keywords help you rank well on YouTube, just like the machine learning basics. So if I go back to our video, our machine learning basics video, if I just type in machine learning basics, I'll be able to pull it up. And so here it is. If I click on it, I'm going to go to YouTube. And so here I can see this keyword.
We know humans learn from their past.
Is well aligned because it's in the title, it's in the copy, and it's aligned as a keyword tagged with the video. So we know that that keyword has good volume, low competition, is relevant because that's what the video is about, the basics of machine learning. It's an introduction to machine learning. So instead of honing in on just introduction to machine learning, primary keyword is machine learning basics. And then we supported that video with those secondary keywords. What is machine learning? Because somebody who doesn't know what machine learning is probably going to type in that keyword. And then introduction to machine learning is a good secondary keyword because it's explaining the basics of what machine learning is all about. So primary keyword, machine learning basic, secondary keywords, what is machine learning, and introduction to machine learning. So that's the whole idea behind choosing keywords. You want that keyword that really is going to define the content and then support that with those secondary keywords. So remember, when you're performing your keyword research, choose keywords for your videos that Google shows on the video results page. So what I mean by that is your video can get more views if you rank on Google as well. So the whole idea is not necessarily to be found on YouTube, it's also to be found on Google. So if I go back to Google and I just type in data science for beginners and I type in videos, then you could see we're ranked #1.